I would like to call the meeting to order this morning and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Inuit, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be the chair for the hearing this morning. Richard Whitbread, another panel member, is zooming in, and Doug Marks is sitting to the right of me. Our recording secretary is Jason Robertson, and our assessor is Matthew Harley. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you'll be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Boardroom Division YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. Matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1 through 9 on our docket today. And the only change is we will be starting at item number 4 and ending with item number 1, 2, and 3. Mr. Robertson, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony. Thank you very much.
Mr. Assessor.
Yes.
Please state your full name.
I'm Matthew Harley.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Trevor Smith.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first property we'll be dealing with is item number 4, 1300 Inkster Boulevard. Are there any preliminary issues with this property, either party?
No.
Okay, Matthew, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number is 22-2966. The roll number is 14063660100. The address is 1300 Inkster Boulevard. The owner is Boss Systems Limited. The 2023 assessed value based on the reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $4,255,000. I do have a recommendation to put forth for this property. Myself and Mr. Smith had a chance to just briefly discuss this. So I'm proposing revised assessment to $3,990,000. And that's the recommendation I'm putting forth.
And what's the reason for the recommendation?
I am adjusting the rent or model rent.
So can you give us the resulting adjusted NOI?
The adjusted NOI would be, apologies, 1 second here, 277,210.
And Trevor, do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions. We're in agreement.
So you've accepted the reduction?
That's right.
And Richard, any questions?
I have none, thanks.
And Doug?
Not just a confirmation on the reduced number, please.
Oh, 3,990,000, correct?
That's
Matt?
correct. That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes that property. The next one is 571 Messier Street. So let's get there.
What number is that on the agenda?
5.
Any preliminary issues,
No preliminary issues. No.
Trevor?
No.
To save some time, are there any preliminary issues on the rest of yours, Trevor?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No,
Matthew?
there's none. No.
Okay, then I will see Sam's asking the question. Okay, Matthew, you can proceed.
Thanks, Chairman. The file number is 22-3655. The roll number is 0605-169-1600. The address is 571 Messier Street, and the owners are Magnet Industries Limited. The 2023 assessed value based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $1,861,000. If we look at the property description information about my brief, I just would like to note that this particular property is mostly line value. We do have an older structure that we are assessing under cost. I don't believe there really is any value in it. So going forward, we might have to look at this, but currently we are assessing it. So I will just be going through that just to let the board know. So this information is regarding this particular building, which I'll show in the photos. So this particular building here is 1920 building. It's 26-foot wall heights. The particular property is zoned M3. The land area is roughly 437,700 square feet, or roughly 10 acres. And the area of this particular space, this building, which wouldn't really be usable space, is 2,622 square feet, and the land plan area doesn't really. I'm not going to. That's not really. I'm not going to really. It's not really irrelevant, if you will. So, go to page 2 of my brief. You'll see the subject map of the property. So again, it's located on Messier Street. So at the top of my page, you'll see the Google map view of it. Now, if you go to bottom of page 2, this is shows more of a satellite view, so you can kind of see the property itself. Apologies, it's kind of hard to see the building on there. I should have zoomed in closer, but there is a little tiny structure on there that this was the building I was speaking to. But I said the value is really in the land. So if you go to page 3, this is another photo of the subject. This one you can kind of see a bit better where the building is. It's actually if you look at the very left-hand corner, this is the little building I was speaking to. So again, not really, there's really not much, there's really no value in this building, but that's the one structure that is on there that we have as a building. But as I stated, this is predominantly it's the land. So as you can see here, the shape of the property where it's located on Messier Street, Dawson Road is just adjacent to the property there. And at the bottom of the page, you'll just see another aerial view of the subject property. If we go to page 4 of my brief, this is zoned M3, heavy manufacturing, and just a brief description of what that entails. So, light or heavy industrial development, storage, freight terminals, waste and salvage resources, large, frequent heavy trucks, traffic. So those are just some of the things that entail an M3. So what it could be used for. Going to page 5 of my brief. Again, here's just the valuation summary breakdown. So the total land value is $1,850,000. We have a total depreciation cost of $11,000 on this building. Again, as I stated, the value is really in the land. If we go down further in my brief, the last time this property sold was in 2018, $308,000. This was a leaseback sale, so it's not really it wasn't a true market lease, or it wasn't a bona fide sale, or an arm's length sale. So I'm not really putting much weight on it. And then there's a sale in 2014 where it sold for $725,000. So if you look at the bottom page 5, this is just the cost information we have on that building. It's 95% depreciated overall, so the value we're using for that building is $11,000. Again, this might be something going forward you might have to look at again. So, but that is what we currently have assessed at. So the total assessed value would be $1,861,000, including that $11,000 for that building. If we go to page 6 of my brief, you'll see some of my land sale comparables. Now, again, the subject property is roughly 437,700 square feet, or roughly 10 acres. It is zoned M3 heavy manufacturing. We are applying a sale or a land rate of $4.23 a square foot, or roughly $184,000 per acre. These are the 4 comparables I've shown here. These are the reason I've shown these comparables. These would be very close to the subject property. They are smaller, but I'm just trying to show similar properties that shown close to the subject. So these particular comparables range in size from 49,000 or 44,598 square feet up to 119,996 square feet. So they range from M3 to M2 for the zoning. You'll see some of the land influences, comparables 2 and 2 is just a rail line, 4 is a contaminated site with on a rail line. The dates of the sales range from May 14th, 2014 to October 22nd, 2019. And the price per square foot range from $5.05 a square foot to $7.48 a square foot. These are particular comparables I chose because these ones are particularly close to the subject, being a mission industrial, so they would be in the same location as the subject property, so similar types of zoning. So these are the first 4 comparables I've shown. Now, if we go to page 7 of my brief, I have an additional 4 other comparables. These were much larger comparables, so I think these would be more closer in terms of the size of the subject. So these comparables range in size from 128,232 square feet to roughly 523,314 square feet, which is roughly 2.944 acres to 12.014 acres for the highest. So you'll see the zonings for these particular ones. And then lastly, you'll see some of the land influences on them. Comparable 5 would be as a former contaminated site. Comparable 6, 7, 8, no sewer, no water, rail lines adjacent, some of the influences. And the dates of sales, they range from February 4th, 2016 to, I apologize, January 5th, 2015 to August 2nd, 2019. So there's a bit of a range in terms of sale dates. When you come to larger sales, there's not as many sales of larger sites, larger sites. So, and also they are location wise, you'll see they are slightly different locations, being an Inkster Industrial, Oak Point Highway. So, but again, with larger sites, you have to kind of bracket out looking for sales to comparable sales because there's not a lot of larger sales in the city. So, and these sale prices per square foot range from $4.03 a square foot to $6.89 a square foot, or roughly $175,000 an acre to $300,000 an acre. Go to page 8 of my brief. These are some of the photos of my comparables. So the first 4 comparables are the ones closest to the subject. These are smaller, but this is the first comparable on Provencher Boulevard. So you'll see here, this is it's an irregularly shaped parcel. Same zoning as the subject, being an M3 piece of land. Comparable 2, this is on Mission Street. So again, this would be close to the subject, but again, it's a smaller comparable. So I'm going to use that. Comparable number 3 on page 10. This is on Foster Street. So this would be close, just north of this would be Nairn Avenue. This is an irregularly shaped site. I believe this is an M2, M2 zoning. Comparable number 4, this is also on Mission Street as well. This one is the one that sold in 2014. This was a known contaminated site when it did sell, but it is an older sale. Again, these ones I was showing just because I want to show sales close to the subject. Now, if we go to page 11, these would be the other comparable, my other larger site comparables. So this is comparable number 5. This is located closer to the Inkster Industrial Park. This one was a known contaminated site when it sold in 2015. This site, I won't dispute, it's a bit better location in terms of comparing to the subject. So I believe that would be another reason for the higher sale per price per square foot. But page 11 at the bottom, this is on 65 Hyde Avenue. So this is located off the Oak Point Highway. So this parcel of land, it's just off of a little bit less, doesn't have as good, accessibility, as well as, doesn't have as good visibility. It's right adjacent to a rail line. slightly irregular shaped. So you can just kind of see what it's being used for storage, which would be similar to the subject. If we go to page 7. This is my comparable, page 12. This is comparable number 7. So this is located on Lajimoni Boulevard. This is a piece of large piece of land, roughly 500,000 square feet piece of land. So it's obviously slightly irregular shaped, especially at the front of the parcel. One thing I would like to note is the property adjacent to it or just above it is they essentially, to get access to the site, you actually have to go through the other property to get access to it. So there's a bit of you would have to get some kind of like an easement or right of way or access or permission from the owner to access it. So there's a bit of a issue with that. And then lastly, comparable number 8 on page 12 here. This is located on Mission Street as well. Again, this is M3 zoning as well. So again, this is 120,000 square feet, 2016 sale. So again, close to the subject though. Page 13 of my brief is just the classification, liability, and allocation. Again, we're assessing the property roughly 437,700 square feet, land value at $1,850,000. And as I mentioned previously, we are assessing that building currently at $11,000, appreciated 95%, which gives us the total estimated market value of $1,861,000. Go to page 14 and 15 of my brief. This is just a municipal assessment act information. Now if we go to page 16 of my brief, this is just a photo, just some photos of the subject property. This is what the photo, just to show what the property looked like in 2014, 2021. So the opposite looks like there's some cleanup on this site in that time frame. Page 17 of my brief, this is just the 2018 sale. Just the sales mailer that we were provided. Page 19 through 22. This is just a lease agreement that was in place. The current owner had back in 2014, and just some of the information regarding that lease when it was in place. Page 23, this is just a very older photo of the subject back from 1949. And page 24, this is the 2014 sale that occurred. Again, just showing this this sale when it occurred back in 2014. Again, this is the sales mailer. And page 26 and 27 is just actually the current property, the current tenant that's leasing the space. This is just the income that they are generating from the property. So just to show that they are generating, again, they're just generating. This is just to show the income that they are generating from the property. So. And I believe that concludes my presentation. I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trevor, any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is not the most important part of the valuation, but the building on site, I believe you'd referred to needing to probably take another look at whether that actually adds value to the property. If we were to estimate the cost of demolition of that property, would it exceed the value that the city has ascribed to it, do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't, again, I don't know the specifics of demolition costs, but I wouldn't, yes, that's unlikely. Yes, yeah, so.
Okay, and it's not in any kind of occupiable condition at the moment, is it?
From the photos I've seen of it, it does look like it would be, leasable, if you will, I guess, yeah. So.
Okay, great. I will leave that at that. Let's move on to the land value portion then. So the first 4 comparables that you have shown here, they would each be roughly, a tenth to 1/10 to at most a little under a third the size of the subject property. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I don't dispute that. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and generally smaller properties, particularly properties, in that acre, 2 acres would generally drive higher per square foot sale prices due to demand than larger sale prices, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And just looking at so the comparable number 2 there, the 975 Mission Street property, that is located close to that corner, that intersection with the lights at Panet, is that right?
Yes, I believe that
On
is
the north
correct.
side?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Okay. Moving on then to page number 7 and the comparables there. Comparable 5, I think you had referred to, this would be a, I think you had indicated this would be a superior property, superior location to the subject.
Yes, I wouldn't dispute that. It would be better location, yes.
Would you agree that this represented the last large available, might even be the last available land parcel in Inkster Industrial?
I don't know. I can't say that for certain. I know there are other sites, but I can't say for certain. But this is the most recent one I have, I guess. So yeah.
Okay, and I know that it indicates contamination there, and I'd haven't discussed this one recently, but I had looked at that previously. Do you have any more information with regard to the contamination that's referred to there?
The only I don't have anything in my evidence pertaining to that, but I was actually reviewing our notes on this property, and back in 2006, the property owner that did have the property or own the property, when they stated they had a report that indicated there was contamination in terms of lead, asbestos, and other types of contaminants. So I don't have that report with my evidence though. So, but that's that's the information I have. So.
Okay. Comparable 6, roughly half the size of the subject. That is in that Oak Point Highway area and was purchased for a transport company, correct?
I'm not sure exactly who the owner is. I don't have that information, but yes, I'll if that's what I'll take your word for that. Then yes, I'd have to take a look.
Okay.
So.
And that area has significant demand for trucking due to its location on Route 90 and proximity to the perimeter, etc.
There would be more demand for trucking. I wouldn't dispute that. Yeah, because that area, yeah.
Okay. The comparable 7, the Lajimoje property. Let me just flip to your photo here. So it does have a Lajimoje address, and when I look at the parcel, it does actually intersect with Lajimoje, correct?
It is, yes, it does intersect at the point there. Yeah.
Okay, so there wouldn't really be any access issue, would there? If to the owner, they have access essentially at the corner there.
Well, as I stated though, the parcel, the property above it though is like it's owned by another property owner, so they technically would have to be driving on essentially their part of their land to get access to it though. So.
But they could create an entry point to their land at the intersection, could they not?
I guess I wouldn't say that wouldn't be possible. Yeah.
Okay. And 615. So last comparable, number 8, 615 Mission. Just under 3 acres, so about a third the size of the subject property.
It is small. Yeah, it would be smaller. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, and I note that the rail line is indicated as being adjacent to it. The subject property would be rail adjacent as well, correct?
There is a rail directly behind it, I believe. Yeah, correct. Yes.
Okay, those are all of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richard, any questions? Oh, he's muted.
Richard, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And
No questions for me, thank you.
I have one, Matthew, if you refer to page 21 of the lease. It's on your page 21.
Yes.
There's an option to purchase contained within the lease.
Yes, that is correct.
And in that option to purchase, it's indicating the value, I guess, for the purchase is 1,775,000.
That is correct in the lease there. Yes, there's a page also pertaining to this lease. I apologize, I forgot to put in, so I really can't speak to that. But that was this was back in 2014 when this lease was signed. So the current owner, there was a lease agreement. If they did some remediation to the land, if you will, there was an agreement stating that they could purchase the land back. But I believe there was more stipulations to it. I don't, like I say, as I apologize, I don't have the other pages in the of the lease, so I can't really speak to the specifics. But yes, but that was an agreement in the lease at the time. Yes, though. So
was the site contaminated at the time?
there was some there's some remediation issues with it. So part of the lease agreement was that the current tenant, when they leased it out, they were to do some types of remediation to it, so in order to purchase it back. So that was part of the lease. That was part of the lease agreement. So yeah, I can't state for certain if it's been fully remediated. So, but that was part of that lease agreement. So.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. Trevor, you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to address that point that just came up with regard to the lease. So on the city's page number 19, the lease document that was just referred to, the current owner of the property is Magnet Industries, and they purchased it in 2018 at a purchase price of $308,652. And they were the current owner was the tenant of the property in 2014. If you look at the page 19, so the option to purchase was their option to purchase as per that lease document in 2014. And it does refer to $1,775,000 as being the price that shall be paid. As we can see, though, they did pay $308,652 when they did purchase the property from the prior owner. So that purchase price was not reflective of what the property was worth, obviously. And $308,652 was what was paid by the owner. Let's get into my brief here. So cover page obviously gives you a bit of an aerial of the property, and we can move into the document. Page number 1, it gives you a bit of background. It was appealed in 2020 and has been appealed further to the municipal board, as you can see. They're looking at M3 land essentially, and a little over 10 acres, 10.05 acres. The subject property does have a structure on it, as noted. It was originally built in 1920 for the original oil refinery occupant that was on site. So that was the original use of the property for decades, beginning in 1920. The structure does not have a heat source or a natural gas line and has been unheated for decades. Roof of the subject is falling apart, essentially. There's water penetration everywhere, rain and snow events, rain and snow coming in. It's not even really utilized by the landowner now. I believe he's removed all of his salvage from that as from that particular property. And city bylaws would not enable obtaining an occupancy permit for the structure. So there is no value to the structure. If the city has ascribed depreciated cost of $11,000 to it, it would cost more than $11,000 to knock it down. So if we look at page number 2 and 3, you can see the exterior of the building. One picture of the site on page 2. Interiors of the structure on 3 and 4. Not that this is a critical component of this valuation, but there should be no value ascribed to that particular structure, as you can see. Again, it would cost more to demolish it than the property could be worth at this point in time. So, site description shown on page number 5. You can see where the property is located. Messier at Dawson, essentially. Somewhat irregular in shape. And the access is off of Messier. It does not intersect with Dawson. There is a rail line to, I guess that would be the northeast section of the property, as you can see. And there are no other structures on site. The site is gravel surfaced. The Messier, I should point out, is a gravel surfaced roadway as well. So we're not talking about a land parcel that's in a standard industrial park like Inkster or St. Boniface, where you have paved roadways and lighting and drainage, underground drainage, etc. We're looking at ditches and gravel surfaced roadways, etc. So property location shown on page number 6. In that Mission Industrial portion of St. Boniface Industrial, every industrial area. And at the bottom of page 6, you can see proximity to the subject of other contaminated lands. These are actually city landfill sites that are pointed out in these particular this particular diagram at the bottom of page number 6. Now, the sale history of the property is, we've already discussed, purchased in 2018 for $308,652, and that covers that. The one thing I was going to point out with Mission Industrial is the heavy industrial nature of it does have an impact on what market participants are willing to pay for a property such as this. You're in close proximity to the Loveday mushroom plant, just somewhat, perhaps a block and a half north of this. And you have the rendering plant for Maple Leaf and the other animal products processor that's located immediately adjacent to Maple Leaf that give off significant noxious fumes. It has an effect on the area overall and the desirability of properties in that area. Let's move on to the actual valuation, page number 9. So we're looking at, again, 571 Messier. Subject property does have a contamination issue. As mentioned, there has been, I think, some remediation done to it, but I'm not sure that it has been cleared. Let's look at comparables that I have for you here. So we're looking at a total in the neighborhood of 13 or 14 properties here. Majority of these are located in standard industrial parks with paved roadways, lighting, drainage, etc. So let's have a look. 2185 Logan being our first sale, happening in September 2019. 4.5 acres, transacting at $2.28 per square foot. That is obviously located in the Logan industrial area. A little older industrial area. 733 La Jimoje has already been referred to by the city. transacting at $4.87 per square foot. This property is graded, fronts on Lagimodier, good exposure. And traded at $4.87 a square foot. That's a total of 12 acres. Again, significantly greater exposure there. Two properties on Camille Sis in the St. Boniface Industrial Park, significantly smaller at 1.5 and 2.75 acres. And they traded in that $4.18 and $4.98 per square foot range. Now, those are both very conventional properties for development in a standard industrial park. And again, roughly 1/10 to a third of the size or a quarter the size of the subject property. And they're in that 418 to 498 range. Subject would be significantly inferior to that. Mazenod, similarly in the same industrial park, $3.80 a square foot. We have the other sale of 733 Lagimodier at $3.63 per square foot in 2014. Moving on, we have a property in the Inksbrook development area. So this is the North Oak Point area, just immediately outside of the city boundaries. Modern flex warehouse space is being put up there. It's a highly sought after area. We have a 2015 sale there for a little over 2 acres at $4.63 a square foot. Again, significantly superior location. And on downwards, our sales get a little bit older, obviously, as we go down here. But we're looking at properties where we're looking for properties that were impacted by contamination in order for an effective comparison to the subject properties. So if we look at our properties from day downwards, I believe, actually, no, not day downwards. The Archibald and the Marion site, and I believe the Dugald site, were all contaminated properties at the time of sale. Now, obviously, they're somewhat dated, as you can see, but their sale prices per square foot, all well under $1, and all for significant size properties. 13.3 acres, 17.3 acres, 6.8 acres. So closer, certainly closer in size, kind of framing the subject property. Now, that's going back in time somewhat. So even impacted land will have risen in value somewhat, certainly from that time. Bottom of page 9, we state St. Boniface Stockyard sale transacted at 13 cents a square foot. Reflected the stigma and environmental impacts reflected attached to that St. Boniface Stockyards site. So when we go through these sales, obviously impacted properties sell for significantly less. Conventionally sized, well-located properties in industrial parks, we're going for in that 4 to high 4s per square foot. As you can see, significantly different than the subject property. Let's move forward to page number 10. One additional comparable here, 1266 Dugald. Now this is quite a large property, obviously at 111 acres. It did require an access point to be created off of a side road just off of Dugald, which has been done at this point, I believe. M3 zoned land sold in 2017 at a price per acre of 43 cents per square foot. Now, the subject is not 111 acres, it's 10 acres, but we're also looking at M3 zoned land in the area of the subject as well. Now, the economies of scale, that's obviously going to going to transact for a lower per square foot price than the subject. I would point out that the 330 Mazenod comp was service land and was developed with a modern structure for Parmalat, and 733 Lage is service graded and partially paved land parcel with again that intersection on Lagimodier, and that's just located just north of where the church is, the Springs Church is, I believe it's called, just north of north of Fermor there. So all this being considered, subject property is located in the location it is, with the surroundings, heavy industrial surroundings that it has. It has rail adjacent to it, has some environmental impact and or stigma attached to it still certainly, and it's going to transact for less than what you would buy a small conventionally sized ready to develop parcel in St. Boniface Industrial Park or Inkster Industrial Park for that matter. So we have assigned a value of $2.50 a square foot as what we believe to be fair and representative of value for the subject property. And that gives us our final value of $1,094,000. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matthew, any questions?
I did, but actually some of them were actually answered in the presentation, so I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard
I have none. Thank you.
and Doug.
No questions for me, thank you.
So just one clarification on the issue of contamination. I think you stated you weren't sure if it's been cleaned up. Is that correct?
I'm not certain. I'm not certain if they have fully cleaned it. I know that there was a process that needed to be undergone, but for the owner, I'm not certain that they've gone through that process at this point. I don't have that information, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. That was my only question. So that concludes this property. We'll move on to item number 6, Dawson Road, and there's no civic address for it, which I find strange, but
Yeah, but
Matthew, you can proceed with your presentation.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number is 223663. The roll number is 060515500000. And the address doesn't have an address, but it's located on Dawson Road North. And the owner is Nelson River Construction Incorporated. The 2023 assessed value based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $1,946,000. If you look at the bottom of page 1 of my brief, you'll just see the property description information. This is a 1-story building. The effective year builds, or there's multiple buildings, I should say. Sorry, but I'll go through that. The actual year builds range from 1959 or 58 to 2014. The effective year builds range from 1980 to 2014. We're using an overall effective year built of 1980. The wall heights range from 20 to 30 feet. It is zoned M3 manufacturing heavy. The land area is 131,115 square feet. The plan area of 20,480, which is the same as the leasable area at 20,480, and the land to plan area of 6.40. Go to page 2 of my brief. You'll see the request for income information has been received. There are no recent sales on the subject, and there are no subject property leases in place. If we go to page 3 of my brief, you'll see the subject property market income breakdown. So again, the total leasable area for this property subject is 20,480 square feet. We're applying a model rate of $6.90 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent of $141,312. We're applying 4% for vacancy loss per vacancy, which gives us an effective gross income of $135,660. We're allowing 3% for non-recoverable expenses and $3.85 a square foot for shortfall, which gives us a net operating income of $128,436. And then we are applying an overall capitalization rate of 6.60%, which gives us an estimated market value of $1,946,000. Turning to page 4 of my brief, you'll see my rent comparables. Now my rent comparables, they range and lease start dates from 2016 to 2020. The lease terms range from 3 to 10 years. The leasable areas range from 14,360 square feet to 30,020 square feet. The wall heights range from 14 feet to 26 feet. And the effective year builds range from 1969 to 1982. And the net rents range from $6.50 a square foot to $11.45 a square foot. And then you can see some of the locations. So 2457 Day Street would be the closest subject. 1818 Stapleton is in the same kind of area. Notre Dame, obviously Notre Dame area. Alexander would be more central, and then DeVos would be let's say it's further south. So there is a bit of a location differences, but again, these comparables, particularly Day Street, Voss, and Alexander, would be similar types of buildings. So going to page 5 of my brief, it's the capitalization rate information or evidence. So looking at the industrial, so the 20th to 8th percentile of our cap rates fall within 5.5% to 7.45%. Again, we're applying a 6.6% cap rate. So I believe that falls within the range and is supported. Additionally, looking at the published rates from Collier, CRB, and Cushman & Wakefield, I believe our 6.6% cap rate falls within their range as well. So that I believe the cap rate would be supported. Going to page 6 of my briefs, just some municipal assessment excerpt information. Turning to page 7 of my brief, you'll see the subject property map. So at the top there, you can just see the zoomed out location. So you can see this is on Messies, this is on Dawson Road. I guess that map doesn't show the best road. So yeah, you can see Panet is on the would be further east, and then further west, actually Archibald would be around there. So that you can kind of know where it's situated. And then just the bottom of page 7 just shows the just again where it's located on Dawson Road. And you can actually see Messier Street, which is actually very close by. Page 8 of my brief, this is some street views of the subject property, or one of the buildings, I should say. So this is just one photo of one of the buildings from the front. On page at the top and bottom of page 8. Now page 9, this is, you can kind of see the overall view of the subject property itself. So at the top is just an aerial view, it just shows the shape of the property and all the buildings that are attached to the, for the subject. Going to page 9 at the bottom, you can see the multiple buildings here on the subject property. This is, I believe this is a gravel as well, I will note, gravel road. Turning to page 10, again, this is just another view of the subject from different angles to show all the buildings. So obviously the larger building here you can see is one with the 30-foot wall heights. Going to the bottom of page 10, you can just see the rear view of the some of the buildings here. Turning to page 11, again, just another view, and then at the bottom, page 11, I think this is the best view, just to showing all the buildings, the current for the subject property. And then lastly, actually on page 12, I've actually shown basically, as you can see there, all the square footages of all the different buildings. So that's where we get the total leasable area, the 20,000 square feet roughly. So these are all the individual areas of each of these buildings. So, so I just want to give you a breakdown of just the size of all these buildings. So going to page 13 of my brief, you'll just see the income and expense mailer. This is a fully owner occupied property, so there are no leases in place. Continues on page 14, and then page 15 is just some outside source information regarding the vacancy, and then page 16 and 17 through 19 are just some further capitalization rate evidence, which I've already spoken to under my cap rate evidence page. So this is just showing further information regarding the capitalization rates by the published rates. And that page 20 just shows some information just regarding different zonings, just a brief description of different types of zonings. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trevor, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make sure. So there's two properties here that that have the same actual 101 Dawson road address. So I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the right one, because you had referred to multiple buildings on site. Did you just mean the stages of the one building?
Well, yeah, like I said, just showing on page, where was it? I think it was page 12. I guess I was just trying to show like I just have the breakdown of the areas of just because how we have it broken down. But yeah, it's not like I'm not seeing multiple buildings. They're obviously all, from what I understand, I think you can get access to all of them, but I'm just showing the different sizes of each of these buildings, if you will. I guess.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
Sorry, my printout is particularly small, so I can't see the sizes there.
yeah, I apologize. I tried to zoom it in, but
no.
then it got super blurry. So.
My assistant printed it, so each page only takes up half of the page here, so I can't actually see it. So that's my fault. No, that's fine. So I think our differences are largely with regard to rent and cap rate, and of course the non-recoverable expense issue, which we will not delve into unless the panel needs us to. So let's look at page number 4 then. 200 DeVos Road. This is located just off of Pembina Highway, immediately adjacent to the south perimeter. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And is that a storage warehouse?
I believe we classify as a storage warehouse. It is a similar type of building in the sense of it's on a gravel type, piece of land like that, and it's a very similar type of building, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. So, but we do classify as a storage warehouse, though. Yes. Okay.
And 2110 Notre Dame Avenue. This is a property that is owned by Artis REIT, a large multi-tenant warehouse facility. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Correct.
Okay, so despite its age, it's been upgraded since that time, and it would be more modern than the subject, would it not?
I can't speak to the upgrades of the property, but I mean, the effective rebuild is 1969. It may be newer than that. I don't know the specifics of the changes that have been made to it, but yes. So yeah.
Okay. And 2475 Day. So I looked at this one. It's kind of an oddball. It's in the middle of Transcona, kind of north of where that bioreserve is. Is that where it is?
Yes, that's correct. It would be closer to like the I guess east perimeter, I guess, if you will. Yeah, Day Street. Yeah.
Okay, and I won't spend time on it, but something seems a little off with that one, with 14-foot wall height and a net rental rate of, at the very high end, of $11.45 a square foot. Is that, do we know if that's verified? Is that a gross rent or?
Well, I mean,
general rent, or
again, the information we receive, we get the mailers. They showed on the rent is net rent, and that's, I mean, that's the information that we're provided. So that's all. I'm just going to go by the information at least that they provided on their income and expense mailer. They clarified as a net rent, and that's what they've stated. So
okay, fair enough. Capitalization rate wise, the city doesn't provide any individual transactions to support the cap rate that the model chooses, I gather?
No, we do not have site specific or cap rates or sales of cap rates we use. It is applied on, we are using market sales to drive our cap rates, but yes, we don't have specific sales we're showing them. So.
Okay. And I'll only cover this once for the panel. When I look at your page 5, the capitalization rate page, it states for the 2023 general assessment, April 1, 2021 reference date, cap rates were derived from model generated estimates of net operating income and sale prices that were time adjusted to April 1, 2021. The assessed values produced by the application of these model generated cap rates. So if I read that correct, what the city does is take transactions that occurred, but then use the model to generate the net rental rate, the NOI, and they then time adjust the sale price as well. So we're not actually looking at the capitalization rate of that transaction as of the sale date with the income in place. Is that correct?
I will not dispute that. Yeah.
Okay. Those are all of my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Richard. Oh, he's muted again.
Mitch Whitford, we can't hear you. Can you turn yourself off mute?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Doug.
And I have no questions.
And I have no questions. And Trevor, you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So 101 Dawson Road North. So we actually have two properties with the same physical address. This one is the northernmost of them, and it is a structure that was built in stages, with the original structure having been built in 1958, and with successive stages having been built behind that. The majority of the property is at a 20-foot wall height. There was an addition put on the back of the property, one single bay in 2014 that has a 30-foot wall height. You can see that from the aerials of the city and from our photographs as well. The property owner is a construction company, Nelson River Construction, and they are owner occupied. They operate out of here, and they store and fix their heavy machinery in the property itself. So that is the use that the property is put to. If you look at my page number 3, you can see some background on the property. The 2023 assessment, we're looking at a 57.6% increase in assessed value from 2020. And if you look at the 2020 assessment, we had a reduction to $1,235,000 at that time, which is under appeal at the municipal board, as is the 2018 assessment. So property is zoned M3, heavy manufacturing, and we have a total of 3 acres. The site is gravel surfaced. It's not paved. And we have some description of the building improvements at the bottom of page number 3 as well. We could skip forward to the photographs so that you can kind of do a walkthrough of the facility. Some exteriors, some of the yard on pages 4 and 5. You can see the heavy industrial use that it's put to. The bottom of page 6 shows you the interior of that single bay that's 30-foot wall height. And the remainder of the property is as shown on page 7. So they do use the property for a heavy industrial use, the fixing of their construction and maintenance of their construction equipment. All the rest of the photos there are pretty self-explanatory, I think. The site is shown on my page number 10. So it is in that heavy industrial area. It's bordered on the east side by a rail line, and across the road there, the Shell Canada fuel storage farm. So that's the area that it sits within. There's a small portion of the site that is paved, with a large majority of it being crushed rock. If you look at the layout of this particular site, it's very irregular. So you have portion of the site that is located in behind the adjacent property, to call it the northwest. So certainly the layout of the property is not your normal rectangular or square parcel. So the utility can be impacted by that. As I stated, property owner operates a heavy construction business on site. Location shown on page 11, same location as the prior property, essentially in that Mission Industrial area. And again, you can see the former city landfills, as pointed out, in the immediate area on the bottom of page 11, the Shell Canada site being shown there as well. So let's move forward to the valuation itself. Page number 14. The challenge with a property like this is that typically we're looking at owner occupied properties. It's difficult to get a lot of arm's length leases for M3 properties in an area like this. What we're looking for is to find the best comparables out there. So in the same and or similar area, close to the reference date, similar ages, wall heights, utility, etc. So that's what we've done. Comparable one, 993 Century Street, obviously not in the area. So lease from 2020 for just over 18,000 square feet. 20-foot wall height, built-in 73. Now that is obviously superior location in many ways to the subject, being on Century Street, Route 90. Rental rate there, $4.60 per square foot. Again, 2020 lease. Moving down, number 2, 25 Paquin. This is located in the St. Boniface Industrial Park, so not the heavy industrial portion, but the new St. Boniface Industrial south of Dugald there. By new, I mean relatively new. 2017 lease for 5 years at $6 a square foot. Larger area of 45,000 square feet, but this property is built in 88 and has a 20-foot wall height, much more conventional property than the subject, significantly superior, better loading, more land, etc. Paved roadways, all of the things that you would get in a location like that. 955 La Jamoje is located on the corner, southeast corner of La Jamoje and Dugald. 1965 property with a 28-foot wall height, 35,000 square feet. Leasing in 2018 for $5.50 a square foot. Much higher profile, being on La Jamoje, good access to trucking, etc. Number 4, the Paramount property. This is a multi-tenant, larger multi-tenant, multi-building location. 2018 lease at $4.85 a square foot. For 24,000 square feet, 1975 structure with 20-foot wall heights. Again, much more conventional warehouse facility. Number 5, 214 Debates. Again, we're back in St. Boniface Industrial, so as close as we can be. Typically, 2017 lease at $6 a square foot for a little over 13,000 square feet. Built in 88, 20-foot wall height. So those would be, by and large, superior properties to the subject. We're looking at evaluation date of 2021. So we have made some adjustment to our rent, and we have applied a net rental rate of $5.75 per square foot to the subject property. You can see aerial photos and location maps for each of those comps on the following pages through page 19. Leave you to review those if you wish. Our expense allowance is the same as the city at 4%. We provide you the background on that. The vacancy allowance is the same as the city. The expense allowance, I will save us all time and leave it there for you to read if you wish. We've all discussed that extensively. Our position on it is clear, and we use 7% as the overall expense allowance. Shortfall allowance, we are in agreement with the city at 385, and we can move on to capitalization rate. So we look at my page number 22. I provided the ranges that both Colliers and CB Richard Ellis provide as of the valuation date. Collier's indicating capitalization rates of 6 to 6.75%. Again, they have roughly a quarter point that these cap rates are depressed by due to the inclusion of closing costs. So make the appropriate adjustment. CB Richard Ellis indicating cap rate range of 6% to 7.25%. And again, that's for investment grade industrial assets. The subject property is an owner occupied heavy industrial property originally built in 1958 with additions in an M3 zoned area. It would not fall within that categorization typically. Looking at the comparables that we have provided on page number 22, these are all transactions that were investment transactions. Properties were purchased for the in-place revenue and returned to the purchaser as of the valuation date. We have property located on Route 90 being number 1, 1616 King Edward, cap rate of 6.8% in 2017, significantly superior property to the subject, great visibility, good loading, multi-tenant facility. Number 2, also on Route 9891 Century, multi-tenant property at 6.6%, transacting in 2017 there. Pardon me. 333 Debates being number 3, 7.4% capitalization rate for a single tenant property, well located in the St. Boniface Industrial Park, solid tenant for that property. 78 Hutching Street, similarly located in Inkster Industrial Park, but single tenant, very well tenanted transaction with a capitalization rate of 7.2%. And finally, the multi-tenant property on Sherwin and Keith with a capitalization rate of 7%. Now, these would all be superior properties to the subject. I get certainly some of the transactions go back a little bit of time. However, there were very, very few transactions in the relevant time frame to provide fair comparison to the subject. So we look at the available information, make the appropriate adjustment. The aerials of each of these and the location are provided on the following pages. There for you to look at. And our summary of our evaluation is on page number 28. So again, subject property is heavy industrial property in a heavier industrial area. Potential tenants for these type of properties typically have more manufacturing oriented and dirty uses than those for typical warehouse industrial properties, and are considerably less attractive to investors due to the actual and perceived risks associated with these properties. Additionally, there are less tenants for these properties as well, therefore more risk of vacancy within the subset of industrial properties. So if we have a single tenant heavy industrial property, there is greater risk purchasing that as an investor. So they are not typically investment properties. So all this being considered, we've assigned a cap rate of 7.5% in our analysis. This gives us a final market value of $1,360,000. And I am open for questions.
Thank you very much. Matthew, any questions?
My question was kind of answered, but I'm just curious. Just page 22 of your brief, just the cap rates you presented. I think you did mention, yeah, these are slightly older cap rates, so the sales are slightly older. So I'm just curious, do you believe cap rates have compressed maybe since then, or based on current market, for cap rates, like, do you think these would be, reflective current market cap rates, if you will, I guess? So like, you believe, like, your cap rates, like, do you believe they've compressed since, 2017-16 sales, like 4 to 5 years from the reference date? So
yes. So to answer your question, I guess it's property dependent, but the market for, say, well-located multi-tenant flex warehouse type space, absolutely. There's been some compression in those numbers. I don't think that the properties that are indicating 6.6 and 6.8 would be necessarily out of line. I think in comparison to the subject property, I think what we presented would be fair and accurate. But yes, overall, there has been some compression.
Okay, that is actually my only question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richard, any questions?
No, I have none. Thank you.
And Doug?
My question's been answered. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So that concludes this property. The next one on the docket is 101 Dawson Road North. Any issue? Oh, no, we took care of that. Never mind. Matthew, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number is 22-3664. The roll number is 060515555000. The address is 101 Dawson Road North, and the owner is Nelson River Construction Incorporated. The 2023 assessed value based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $778,000. If you look at page 1 of my brief, under the property description information, you'll see there are 3 buildings we're assessing. One premise, and they're one-story buildings. The actual year builds range from 1939 to 1978, with the effective year builds ranging from 1955 to 1978, with an overall effective year built of 1968. This is zoned M3 heavy manufacturing. The land area is 87,054 square feet, with a plan area of 10,152. We also have as you see, a basement area of 2,472 square feet, with a gross area of 12,624 square feet, and we're an overall leasable area of 11,904 square feet. And there's an overall land to plan area of 8.58. Going to page 2 of my brief, you'll see the request for income information has been received. There are no recent sales on this property, and there are no subject property leases in place. Going to page 3 of my brief, under the market income workup. Again, we're classifying this as a storage warehouse. So we have the one area of 11,904 square feet of total leasable area. We're applying a model rent of $4.80 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent of $57,139. We're allowing 4% vacancy, which then gives us an effective gross income of $54,853. 3% for non-property expenses, and $3.85 a square foot for shortfall, which gives us an overall net operating income of $51,374. And lastly, overall, we're applying an overall capitalization rate of 6.60%, which gives us the estimated market value of $778,000. Go to page 4 of my brief, my rent comparables. So my rent comparables, they range from lease start dates of 2018 to 2020. The lease terms range from 2 to 5 years. Leasable areas range from 4,528 square feet to 12,000 square feet. The wall heights range from 12 feet to 16 feet. The effective year builds range from 1966 and 1983. And the net rents range from $6.03 a square foot to $8.32 a square foot. So some of these comparables, I tried to find comparables close to the area. Again, this property, it's hard to find similar comparables of the type of buildings they are and such. Again, being slightly older. The closest one I would think would be on Cordite Road at $6.03 a square foot. Again, we're at 480. I believe, based on the age of this property as well, I think the 480 is, is an appropriate rate. Again, trying to find comparables similar, it was difficult based on the fact of the older age and such. So I won't dispute these comparables would be superior, but again, I feel the 480 we're applying is reflective of the condition and age of these buildings. Go to page 5 of my brief. Again, just the capitalization rate evidence. Again, using a 6.60% cap. As I previously in the previous hearing, or previous property falls within the 20th to 8th percentile. And again, I believe it still falls within Colliers, CRB, Cushman & Wakefield's cap rates of 6.60. Being the smaller area as well, I believe the lower cap rate would be, fair based on the fact of less risk as well, based on the fact of, smaller area. So that would be another factor for the cap rate. So I believe the cap rate would be supported. Going to page 6 of my brief, just some municipal assessment accurate information. Page 7, This is just the subject property maps. These are actually the same ones as the previous property. Again, they're very close to each other, which you'll see shortly in my photos. Going to page 8 of my brief, you'll see at the top there, this is a street view of one of the buildings in the property. This would be the oldest building on the property. I believe it's the 1930 building, I believe. Bottom of page 8, you'll see the parcel outline. As you can see, it's very close, just adjacent to the previous property we just spoken to. So then here you can see the multiple buildings on this property, which I've actually laid out in the next page. So if you go to page 9, I've just kind of laid it out in red. So those are the 3 buildings that we are assessing, or we have the assessed value of that total leasable area of 11,000 square feet. I will note there's a few other buildings there. It looks like a couple of trailers. I'm not sure if those are fixed or not, but we aren't assessing those properties. So these are just the 3 buildings we're assessing. Go to page 9, in the middle and the bottom. Again, you'll just see different photos just to show the entire layout of the subject. Continue on page 10. Again, you'll just see the rear view of the subject property. Page 11, this just gives you a better view of the buildings. Again, that's the 3 buildings we're assessing, the one in the back, and the one in the middle, and then kind of one in the front. And I guess, like I said, there's other trailer structures there as well, but we're not assessing those. And page 12, again, just to show more photos, just to show more closer photos of the buildings. Obviously, the one at the back looks like it would be the newest building on the subject there, on the piece of land there. So, and going to page 13, again, this is a fully owner-occupied property, so there are no leases in place. This gets me to page 14. And lastly, page 15 through 19 are just outside source information, just related to cap rate evidence that I've spoken to already. And then just page 20, it's just information regarding zoning districts and surplus land information and excess land information. That concludes my presentation. I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor, any questions?
Just the one really. So looking at your page 5 capitalization rate there. So the city's 20th to 80th percentile industrial B classification. Well, actually all of industrial, I guess. The 80th percentile is 7.45% cap rate.
That is correct.
And there would be, I'm assuming there's, I don't know what the 100th percentile is, but it's above there somewhere, obviously.
Yeah, anything in the, let's say anything in the 100th would be reserved for, much older, really dated properties. Again, those would be outlier cap rates, but again, as I stated, this is where the majority of our cap rates fall within this range. So,
okay, and subject property has a couple of buildings that were significantly older as well, correct?
there is one. Yes, there is one that is older. Yes, correct. The first
Okay,
one.
that is my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard, any questions?
Just one in regards to the land building ratio, Matthew, you have a 8.5 ratio here. Is it the layout of the buildings and whatnot on the lot that prevent you from having excess land value?
Yeah, I won't dispute that. As you can see, like if these were all maybe in the front, I mean, even I don't think you would even could ever say excess. I mean, even surplus, I won't dispute would be difficult to argue because obviously they're using a lot for storage. If a lot of those trucks and vehicles weren't there, you could maybe argue surplus, but definitely not excess though. So there would be really no way to get a separate access point from that. So yeah, but yeah, based on the layout.
No further question.
Thank you. Doug.
Yeah, just one on page 12. It's showing a number of, I guess it would be office trailers, if you will. There's
Correct.
1, 2, 3 of them. And
Yes.
they seem pretty permanent. Just wondering about these things.
Yeah, as I stated previously, we're only assessing the 3 buildings. Yeah, these look like kind of fixed trailers, so they're not like mobile. Unfortunately, I haven't inspected the property, so I can't speak to the specifics of these buildings or these particular structures, but we are not currently assessing for them, or we are adding to any value to them currently. So
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. And my question, if you turn to page 8. So there is a parcel of land according to your overhead
Correct.
that is not owned by Nelson River Construction.
No, that is actually, I believe, oh, no, it is. I apologize. Yes, it is actually owned by Nelson River. It is actually, or no, sorry, it's a city lease. Nelson River Construction, City of Winnipeg owns it. It's being leased by Nelson River. So,
Oh, for the use of the access and so forth.
yes, correct.
Okay, that was my only question. And Trevor, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the property adjacent to or contiguous with the property that we just dealt with. Same address, 101 Dawson Road North, obviously different roll number. And we can move on to my page 3 for a bit of background. 2023 assessment at 778,000. The 2020 assessment was reduced to 561,000. It is under appeal at the municipal board, as is the 2018 value as well. We're sitting on an M3 zoned parcel, again in that same mission industrial area, heavy manufacturing. Property is also owned by Nelson River Construction, same owner as the last one, and it is used for their construction business and maintenance of their equipment, maintenance and storage. So property ages on site. So we have the original building that fronts on Dawson itself. Looks like an extended house and was constructed as such. That was built in 1939. That functions as the office for the property. Then we have the 2 additional buildings on site, having been built in 1968 and 1978. So the office building, obviously the wall height is somewhat irrelevant. That would be your 10-foot one. And the 2 other buildings, the largest building, 6,000 square feet, has a wall height of 16 feet, being built in 1978, metal frame building. And the 3rd building, built in 1968, has a wall height of 18 feet, that being 1,680 square feet. The properties would be considered to be in below average condition. If you look at the photographs of them, you'll be able to see why we suggest that. There is no mezzanine space, and the ground floor area is 10,152 square feet. So the photographs begin on page 4. So obviously the office structure or building that's used for office at the top of page 4. We have one of the additional buildings, the masonry one, bottom of page 4, and then the 1978 building with 16-foot wall height being shown on page number 5. Interiors, you can see the interiors of the 2 industrial buildings as shown on 6 and 7. Not sure if we showed the interior of the office building. Anyway, it's functional is how I would put it. It's not elaborate by any means, and has been heavily utilized for many years. So the condition would not be considered average. Site description is shown on page number 8. Again, a rail line bordering the property, Shell Canada fuel storage farm across the way. And there is a former City of Winnipeg landfill site immediately adjacent to the subject, which should be shown on an image below, but I see is not. Majority of the site is gravel. There's some paved portion, but most of it is gravel surfaced. And again, we have the same use of the site with the construction company, Nelson River, being the owner occupant. Location shown on page 9, same location. Let's move on to the valuation. So keep in mind, we have 3 properties here. The one being an office space of 2,472 square feet, having been built in 1939. 6,000 square feet with a 16-foot wall height being built in 78. And masonry building of 18 feet built in 1968. All of them somewhat below average in terms of condition. So it's difficult to find comparables, obviously, for properties such as this, as Matthew referred to. So we do the best we can in providing properties of a similar or superior nature, but similar in size, similar in age, wall height, etc., as we can provide, and close to the valuation date. So that's what we've shown on page 12. Again, we have many of the same comparables here: 993 Century, 61 Paramount, the 214 Debates. I believe we had those in the last one. So we have rates of 460 and 485 for 2020 lease and 2018 lease on Century and Paramount. As you can see, those are leases of 18,000 and 24,000 square feet, superior wall height, location, loading, paving, everything essentially. To this, we have added 1097 Keewatin, I think is new, 2017 lease for 6,500 square feet, roughly, built in 79 with a 19-foot wall height, $5.10 per square foot. We have 26 at Mandalay, indicated twice, 2 leases there. A multi-tenant property built in 76 with 17-foot wall heights. We have leases there over a 3-year time span of 425 and 475. This would be somewhat small bay industrial, just off of Inkster, essentially. Finally, 265 Oak Point Highway. This would be the closest comp in terms of comparability to the subject property. It is a truck bay facility, multi-tenant, located on Oak Point Highway, so the extension of Route 90 there, of course. Lease in 2018 at a rate of $4.50 a square foot for a single bay of 1,500 square feet. That was built in 71, has 18-foot wall height. Now, again, that is strictly used for by individual tenants renting individual bays for truck maintenance and repair and storage, etc. That would be the closest that we would have in terms of comparability to the subject property. So our rates range from a high of $6 a square foot down to that $4.25 a square foot for multi-bay or multi-tenant on Mandalay. Really, the Oak Point Highway would be the best comparable. So the photos are shown on the following pages, as well as the locations. You can see the general superior nature of them. Oak Point is shown on the last page there, or rather page 18, with the location being shown as well. So this is, again, rented out by the bay to individual trucking owners. So based on this analysis, we believe $450 per square foot would be appropriate for the subject property. We can skip through the expenses. Nothing has changed there. We use the same parameters as we did in the last property, not disagreeing on shortfall or vacancy, and move forward to the capitalization rate, which begins, of course, on page number 22. Nothing has changed here either. Same comments carry forward from our discussion of the last property. In addition, we have a property that would be arguably in inferior condition to that particular one that we were just discussing somewhat. It's also older, obviously. We have a significant portion of it being quasi-office space, being built in 1939, not necessarily of the same utility to all potential users. That being said, we have not changed the cap rate. We're still using 7.5% for the cap rate. You can see the same comparables we've provided on page 22, and the same commentary from Colliers and CB Richard Ellis. Again, the Colliers range would be a 1/4 point higher than indicated, as they include closing costs. So their high end for investment grade industrial would be 7%. Now, subject property falls well outside of that. And we've applied a cap rate of 7.5% for those reasons. Summary of this is shown on page 28, and it produces a final market value of $523,000. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matthew, any questions?
No, my questions actually have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard?
Trevor, can you explain the difference in square footage? You're about 1,752 square feet less than the city. They have 11,904, you have 10,152. Have I got that right?
Well, let me just check what we have utilized. Yes, we do have 10,152. So, and I think I don't know, I didn't address this in the in my discussion. Sorry about that, but the office building, well, the building used as office space, I don't want to call it an office building, has a basement. This is the 1939 building. It's essentially built like a house is built. It's not leasable space, shouldn't be considered as part of it. I believe, and Matthew might be able to confirm this for us, I believe that is the difference in space. And but again, Matthew would have to confirm that number.
Yeah, I actually had a piece of paper. I just apologize. Let me get it out here. I apologize. I should have put this in my brief, but
I think that was an issue in the last cycle as well.
1, 2, 3 here. I believe it is the basement area using yeah. So we have like 11,904. So just give me 1 second here. Apologize. Yeah, I believe that is the case. I think that is the space that we're including. Basement area, yeah, that's from what I can see in this previous information. Yes, so that's what we're including. No, yes.
So if I may come back to Trevor, then what you're suggesting in your analysis, Trevor, is that you're not valuing the basement space.
That's correct. There would be no additional value attributed in the marketplace by either tenants or owners to the basement space. You wouldn't pay money for the basement space. Neither would you pay additional rent for the main floor because it has a basement in a situation like this. It's just there.
Understood. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was my question as well. Thank you.
So my question is these trailers, are they permanently installed with full city services?
I do not know that. I'm afraid. I didn't visit it this cycle. I visited it last cycle, so I don't recall. But if I
were the trailers there last cycle?
I'm going on memory now. I don't recall if they were there at the time, but I do know that the city is not assessing them.
We heard that today.
So,
okay, I'm just curious. That concludes this record. And the next one on the docket is 65 Fournier.
Say there's Sid. Don't speak with me. He's apparently here.
There's what?
Sid. Can we take a couple minute break?
Well, let's take a 10-minute recess. We will reconvene the hearing this morning, and the next property on the docket is 65 Fournier Street. And Matthew, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number is 22-2843. The roll number is 0605044370. The address is 65 Fournier Street, and the owner is the city of Winnipeg, with a city lease in place for Nelson River Construction Incorporated. The 2023 assessed value based on the reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $657,000. Going to page 1 of my brief, you'll see the property type is a Vindu or vacant industrial. It is zoned M3 heavy manufacturing, and the land area is 43,503.308 square feet, which would be roughly 9.993 acres. Now, if we go to page 2 of my brief, this is the subject map. So where the little red dot is, you'll see where this parcel is. And at the bottom of page 2, you'll see the outline or the parcel boundaries of the parcel of land. So what I would like to note is, one thing I'd like to note is this, again, this is a city-owned property but being leased to Nelson River Construction. This particular site was a former landfill site, so there is some issues with contamination, so which I'll be speaking to more in depth later, but I just wanted to note that. So you'll see where this is situated here, right between all these other properties. Now, going to page 3, you'll just see again just a bit more of an angled view of it, just to show what they're using for. Now, this is basically just used for surface use, essentially as an asphalt plant. So you can see all the different, materials that they have on site and all the different vehicles. I don't believe there's any permanent structures on this site. I believe that even at the corner there, that's just like a fixed. I don't believe that's a fixed structure, from my understanding. One thing I'd like to note about this property, just looking at page 3 at the bottom, the way this property is portioned or situated, essentially it is, you could say landlocked in a way, because there are a bunch of all the other properties surrounding it. There's different property owners. Some of them are owned by the city and some of them are privately owned. So to get access to the site, you have to you can come down Fournier Street, coming off of Panet Road, but you have to essentially drive through another parcel of land to get it. So they do have some issues of accessibility in a sense. So that's one thing I would like to point out. If we go to page 4, again, I've just tried to show the different parcels surrounding it. So at the top of page 4, you'll just see this is one of the other parcels that surrounds it. So to get access on Fournier Street from the north here or south here, you have to drive through that parcel. And then if you want to come off Fournier off of Panet Road, same thing, you have to drive through another parcel of land. So, and then the bottom of page 4, again, just to show another piece of land that's surrounding it. And then lastly on page 5, just to get another piece of land that's surrounding it. So I just want to note that it does have accessibility issues as well as the issues in a known contamination site. Going to page 6 of my brief, zoning. Again, this is it's an M3 zoning, the heavy manufacturing. So again, I believe we've spoken to other previous heavy manufacturing sites, parcels today. So again, that's just some information regarding what entails and what can be used on that type of zoning. And then again, we went to page 7. The valuation is just a bit on land, $657,000. And there are no recent sales, and obviously there are no recent sales on this property. So going to page 8 of my brief, my land sale comparables. So you look at the subject property, again, roughly 435,308 square feet, or roughly 9.93 acres. Again, zone M3 manufacturing heavy. One of the land influences contaminated soil, which I have mentioned. Now we were using a sale price per square foot of roughly $1.51 square foot, or roughly $65,000 per acre. And as I stated previously, this particular property also has the issue of access. So that is the reason we've applied this land rate based on the contaminations potential as well as the access issues. So now looking at my comparables, 5 comparables here. Now, I believe we've actually spoken to some of these previously, but I'll just go through them. So they range in size from 197,013 square feet to 611,747 square feet, or roughly range from 4.523 acres to 14.044 acres. So comparable one here, this is on Dougal Road. I believe we've spoken to this one. Oh no, we haven't. I have the photos. I'll go with the photos of each of the land comparables on my next page. But so yeah, you'll see the zoning, the different zonings that we have for comparables. Some of the land influences. Comparable number 3 I've spoken to previously is on Inkster Boulevard. This is the one site that is sold in 2015. That is a known contaminated site. 2185 Logan, this was actually spoken to in a previous property. This one actually is also a contaminated site. It's on the impacted or contaminated site list, or the Manitoba contaminated site list. Again, slightly smaller than the subject at 4.53 acres. Compare number 465 High, this is on Oak Point Highway. We've spoken to this one. And also 733 Lajimori Boulevard, we've spoken to this one as well. So, and those sale price per square foot range from $2.25 a square foot to $6.89 a square foot. So now if we go to page 9 in my brief, this is the first comparable. This is on Dougal Road. So this would be very close to the subject property. As you can see, this one is a regular shaped parcel, kind of shaped like a triangle, essentially, if you will. It does have issues of accessibility as well. So the only access is up Bornairs Drive, but as you can see, it's, being a regular shape, it would have, you have a little bit of trouble accessing the site. I won't dispute that there's access on Bornay, but again, there is still some issues with accessibility as well as overall usage. And I believe that was reflected in why it sold for the sale price it did. Comparable number 2, we've already spoken to. This one is on Lajimori Boulevard. So I don't think I really need to go into much depth with this one again. I won't dispute. I believe this is superior property, as it's a higher selling price. Comparable number 3. This is the property of Inkster Boulevard. This one sold in 2015 for roughly $6.89 a square foot. As I stated, this is another known. It is a known contaminated site. So the older contaminated sites do sell. There's not a significant amount of them, but they do sell. So this is just one example of that. And this would be the closest in terms of size to the subject. I won't dispute it is superior in the sense of accessibility and location as well. So, but that again, I think that's reflected in its sale price. Comparable number 4, we've spoken this one now on Oak Point Highway. Again, doesn't have as the visibility is not as great on Oak Point Highway. Again, regular shape across from a rail line. 2016 sale. And then lastly, my comparable number 5. Now this one's on Logan Avenue. This is another known impacted / contaminated site on the Manitoba contaminated site list. This one is smaller than the subject. I won't dispute. It's also, you can see, it's kind of a regular shape like almost like a upside down L. The usage of this one would be limited in the sense, at the top would be the most usage of this property, whereas the slimmer portion of land would be, much more or less useful in the sense of what you could do with it. But again, as I stated, this is a known contaminated site as well. Sold in 2019 for $2.28 a square foot. So, contaminated sites still do sell. So I'm just trying to reiterate that. So, going to page 13, my brief, just see the classification liability information. Again, we're just assessing it on land, 435,000 square feet at a rate again of $1.51 a square foot, which is the $657,000. And going to page 14 and 15, just some municipal assessment activities or information. That concludes my presentation. I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trevor, any questions?
Yes, just a few. So as you'd mentioned, Matthew, the actual owner of the property is the city of Winnipeg.
That is correct.
So the tenant, Nelson River Construction, they don't have any ability to sell this property, correct?
No, they would not be able to sell it, correct.
And it's my understanding that they are not able to build on site either, correct, due to the limitations?
I believe there's some restrictions in terms of structures that can be built, correct, yes.
Okay. Let's keep it simple then, just flipping forward to your comparables. So I touched on it, and I unfortunately don't have all of the background at hand, but the one comparable that had been referred to in Inkster Industrial Park there, comparable 3, the Hutchings Street one, again, that was last large property, large developable land parcel in Inkster Industrial?
As I stated previously in the previous one, I can't verify for sure, but I will. I can't state that for sure, but it is probably one of the more larger ones that would sell. Yes, I won't dispute that. So
Okay, yes. And I don't want to talk extensively about this, but it was my understanding that the contamination that was referred to in on that Hutchings Street property was either not present or very minimal, and there was no actual work that needed to be done to that property. Is that your understanding?
No, it's I unfortunately I don't know this. There was like I said, there was a report on it saying that there was land contaminated with many substances such as lead, asbestos, and other types of contaminants. They didn't give it an extensive list, but I can't state if it's been remediated this time. It's still vacant since it sold last, and I looking at the previous history. Nothing's been built on this property in quite a few years, so I can't speak to if there was any remediation done. So as far as I know, it's still contaminated from my knowledge. So.
Okay. And 225 Omen, so your last comparable there. Do we know the issues that were present for that site?
I do not know the specifics of the exact contamination, but as I stated, I looked online and it is on the contaminated list.
Okay.
Sites or whatever. So I don't have the specifics of what the contamination is. So.
Okay, fair enough. Fair to say that none of these would be former City Winnipeg landfill sites?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes. Matthew, is that $1.51 per square foot? Is that a model driven value?
It would be it would be a model driven value, correct? Yes.
And does that take into consideration the accessibility and contamination issues?
Yeah, as I stated, those would be the driving factors for that land rate. Essentially, looking at the fact that it's had access issues as well as the being a former landfill site would have contamination issues. So yes, those would be the factors that would be driving that. So. And
Matthew, do you have the ability, in your judgment, if you thought it worthy, to adjust that value if you wanted to? I mean, obviously, if we have support or any reason why we think it could be, yeah, I mean, we would definitely, that's something we could do. Yes, I'm not saying that's not something we can't, once it's not like it's set in stone, but yes, we can definitely make adjustments if we have evidence to support it, yes, or we feel it should be adjusted. So yes. So you chose not to adjust it in light of the comparables that you presented. Yeah, exactly. And as I said, I think based on, the sale price per square foot and the comparables, as well as just, acknowledging some of those issues with this land. Yeah. So yes. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Doug.
Yes, just one. What was the contamination on this site?
On the subject site?
Yes.
Oh, I believe it was, like I said, it was a former landfill site. So I believe there was some, one of the issues is methane, I believe one of the major contaminations. I'm not sure if I know methane is one of the bigger things on it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So.
And Matthew, I have one question. Do you have access to the city lease?
No, I actually I couldn't find the lease on this, unfortunately. So typically we do have leases, but I tried to do some digging and I couldn't find the lease, unfortunately. So.
Okay, that was my only question.
I do have a follow-up question, if that's all right.
Sure.
So, and I know it's always difficult talking about the model, but so the $1.51 per square foot is a model-driven rate.
That is correct.
So I'm just trying to figure out how the model would derive that. So there wouldn't be an extensive list of land sales of contaminated land that the city could draw upon in the model to assign a value, correct? So it would be based essentially on other vacant land industrial sales?
I can't speak to the specific one, but typically our rates are based on sales, correct? Yes. So.
Okay, that's my only question. Thanks.
Thank you. And Trevor, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So these, this property and the following one, do have some extensive issues, so I'll try and be concise, but there's certainly some material to go through here, so let's, get to it. 65 Fournier, as mentioned, the subject property is actually owned by the city of Winnipeg and is leased to, Bison Rock and Asphalt, Products Limited. Which is part of Nelson River, and it is a land lease. They are not, and I'll get into this, but they're not able to develop any properties upon the land or develop any structures upon the land. They can simply use the land to store and operate upon, but they cannot penetrate the ground for reasons that we'll get into. Background of the property shown on page 3. 2020 assessment was reduced as shown from 667,000 to 90,000. 2018 falls in step with that. The 2023 assessment of 657,000. So we're looking at roughly a 6-fold increase to the assessed value as shown. M3 zoned land in the exact same area as the previous properties that we were looking at. It is vacant industrial, and we have an area of 10 acres. Now, the subject property is utilized by the lessee as an asphalt plant. They have various raw components used in the production of asphalt stored on site, and they have several asphalt production machines that are contained on site, but they are not structures. They are simply used to produce the actual product itself. The photos of the property begin on page number 4, so you can see both the product and the machinery used to produce it on pages 4 and 5. As Matthew's already noted, subject property is landlocked. You can't access it from Fournier Street from either end, either from Orman or from Panet. It doesn't come to the property itself. And site description is shown on my page number 6. As noted, property has no frontage or water or sewer, so there are no services on site. Obviously, transactions of other properties as presented would be typically of serviced land available for development. And most importantly, as noted, subject is a former City of St. Boniface landfill site. The entire site is within the impacted and restricted area, as noted in the Golder Associates report that I've included in the addenda of this material, produced for the City of Winnipeg, referenced later in this report. And as noted, it is in use as an asphalt plant. So let's move on to the location on page number 7. The former landfill lands experience methane off-gassing and so are limited in nature to surface uses with no permanent structures being allowed. And that is shown on page number 7, as well as the actual property location. Let's move on to page number 8. For assessment purposes, obviously, we have to appraise fee simple rights. However, in the subject case, the appellant, the tenant, does not own the land, and they do not have the ability. They do not have all of the rights of a fee simple owner. They have a leasehold estate essentially. So the lessee has the rights and obligations of a tenant under a lease. This does not include the right to trade the property, as i.e. property cannot be sold for a profit by the appellant. City of Winnipeg has leased the land subject to the following conditions taken from the lease itself. Number one, the tenant acknowledges that it is a former landfill site and that methane and carbon dioxide gases may be present. Solid and liquid materials from the landfill may be dangerous to health. Number two, tenant will not erect or permit the erection of any other building or structure whatsoever on the subject property, nor make any excavation therein or improvement thereon. So it's not a developable parcel. You have a landlocked parcel, there's no access to it, there's no services to it. It's a former landfill site and you cannot develop upon the site. You can simply use the surface of the site itself, nor do they own the site in a fashion where they could actually sell it. So that is our background. Page number 9, we get into the former landfill aspect of the site itself, environmental issues. So subject site is a former City of St. Boniface landfill site, identified by City of Winnipeg as St. Boniface landfill site number 1, operated between 1950 and 1969, as shown on the following map. So the first one indicates property there on page number 9. Moving forward, same on the top of page number 10, and then we have a more extensive aerial with the subject property being covered on the west side of La Jamoje, in one of the darker outlined areas there as being a City of Winnipeg landfill, or City of St. Boniface rather, landfill site at that time. Skip forward to page 11. This is an excerpt from Golder and Associates Limited report. They were engaged by City of Winnipeg North to produce 2 reports, a landfill environmental risk report for closed landfills done in October of 2015, and a landfill land use potential report done in December of 2015. The chart at the top of page 11 taken directly from that report, and you can see the outline of the City of Winnipeg landfill taking in the entire property that we're talking about here on Fournier. The landfill risk report produced by Golder identifies the property as having groundwater that has been impacted by petroleum hydrocarbons. Additionally, the site has landfill gas probes that are monitored that have shown evidence of methane off-gassing between 2011 and 2014. Document indicates that the 60-meter testing area around the waste footprint cannot be reduced based on the monitoring results at that time. Recommended improvements state ensure that the remaining on-site building, I don't believe there is an on-site building anymore, is kept open and limit future development on the site while landfill gas is still being generated. The bottom of the page, landfill land use potential report states areas of restricted development have been proposed for each site and are presented on figures 2 through 33. Restricted areas are the greater of the interpreted extent of potential groundwater impacts, or the interpreted extent of potential landfill gas impacts, whichever is greater. It also indicates, based on review, concurrent control zones identified in the report referred to there, proposed restricted areas of development provided in phase 2 landfill environmental risk report, and the status of the landfill environmental reports provided in phase 1 landfill status report. There is a higher potential of increasing the control zone around the waste footprint of the following closed landfills. Site 3, St. Boniface landfill site number 1. That is the subject site. So all that being said, it is clear from these environmental reports generated for City of Winnipeg that subject property has ongoing environmental impacts that would affect the market value of the property. Secondly, the development of the site has been restricted by the City of Winnipeg in the land lease with the appellant, both in the past and ongoing into the future. Property that is restricted from being developed clearly has a significantly lower market value in comparison to similar unimpacted properties. So that is the background. What is the market value of a property such as that? Well, it's difficult to difficult to pin a number on that. So we have a couple of things to guide us in this. And I'll move us forward to the actual valuation on page number 14. Subject property is a former land sale site with environmental contaminants and off-gassing. There's obviously exceptionally few sales or no sales of truly similarly impacted properties we found in the Winnipeg marketplace. For reference, Stevenson Advisors feel the similarly impacted property 200 Borman Road from the same St. Boniface landfill site in the 2016 assessment year, receiving a significant reduction in assessed value based on our valuation. I've provided the 2020 and 2023 assessments for this property below for reference purposes. So the 200 Warman Road site is shown there. It is the same landfill site on the other side of Lajimoje. You can see it in the earlier documentation on page number 10. And for 2020, assessment was $314,000 for 2023. This has been reduced to $28,000, which is a rate of $1.03 per square foot. So same landfill site, that one being based on $1.03 per square foot. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that value, but that is how the city is treating essentially the same landfill site across the road. Our sale comparables are shown on the top of page 15. I'm not going to run through these. We kind of already have. Most of them are conventional sites. If we look at the St. Boniface Stockyard sale, which is 746 Archibald, transacting at 13 cents per square foot, that reflected the stigma and environmental impacts attached to that stockyard site. Now that was in 2007, but it was obviously an impacted site. Further, the city of Winnipeg has utilized a value indicator of 17 cents per square foot for down from 19 cents per square foot in 2018. So 17 cents a square foot for the 2020 assessment year for a similarly impacted former landfill site, that being 99 Murray Park Road. So for the 2020 assessment year, City of Winnipeg was using 17 cents per square foot for essentially the exact same issue. We're seeking an equitable treatment and value. Board of Revision has agreed with this methodology in the past and utilized our rate in their decision for this property. And they've also used this for 1180 Springfield Road for the 2020 assessment year. So let's skip forward, page number 16. Main issues to be considered are, we've already covered them numerous times, but the lessee responsible for payment of property tax does not own the property, cannot sell it. Property is restricted from being developed with permanent structures, and the significant environmental impacts would significantly impact its market value on the market. So we have used a value indicator of $10,000 per acre, which is up from the 17 cents or $7,461 per acre used in the 2020 assessment year by us and agreed to by the city in the decision. Using 10,000 an acre gives us a final market value of $100,000. This is an increase from the $90,000 that the property was reduced to in 2020. Bear with me for a moment here. That would equate to a per square foot rate of 23 cents per square foot. So that is the summary of evaluation. Now looking into the addenda, page labeled as page A-1, you can see the decision from the last cycle. You can see our report, my report rather, from the last cycle indicating the value. And following that, we have the 99 Murray Park Road information with regard to the land valuation for that property. If you look at page A-7, you can see the city is applying a rate of 17 cents per square foot to that former landfill site. Further information regarding that is shown on page A-8, 99 Murray Park Road. Doesn't indicate it there, but that is a former landfill and is indicated on page A10 onwards as well, being indicated as, I think, the Harcourt Street landfill site. In any case, I've included not the entire, well, perhaps I didn't include the entire Golder and Associates brief, but what I have included covers all of the background with regard to the discussion on the environmental on the subject property. And it is there for you to review if you wish. That is my presentation and I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Yes, I have a couple. Just go to page 14 for this question. So I know you're obviously showing assessments here, but are you aware that that $28,000 you've shown there is actually incorrect? It's actually 200. It's supposed to be. That's actually detract structured value. It's actually $297,000. So are you aware of that? That's the actual land value currently, I guess. Or
I'm sorry, I missed some of that. So I'm on what page are we on now?
Page 14. So you're saying here, like, again, I know we're looking at assessments here, but for 2020 assessment, you're saying it's from 200 warm and 314 to $28,000. I just wonder if you're aware that's actually incorrect. That value at $20,000 is actually there's detached structures on that piece of land. That's what that value is for. So I was wondering if you were aware if you were aware of that, I guess, or not.
That was what was indicated on the City of Winnipeg website when I pulled up the property. There's what the valuation is.
There's two roll numbers for that property. So that's the detached structured value. The actual land value is 297. So I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, okay. No, no, I was unaware of that. I didn't, I did not see that, but that was what, again, what popped up when I searched it on the City of Winnipeg site.
Oh, okay. I guess I guess their question is, I know you're saying here there's no true recent sales environmentally impacted land, obviously, so you're not really relying on your comparables. So I guess it's fair to say that you're deriving on comparing assessments, essentially, if you will, I guess.
Well, what we're looking at, and I take your point, but what we're looking at is equity, right? You can't value one former landfill with off-gassing and hydrocarbons in a different fashion from another one, which is what we're saying with 99 Murray Park Road being valued at 17 cents per square foot in that 2020 assessment for the additional land component, whereas this is valued in a different fashion. So we're looking for equity, obviously, between identical sites, essentially.
So yeah, I was gonna say, can you say for certain, like, that site's identical? Like, if there's any, I mean, can you say for certain there's not any different restrictions on that site than the other site? Because I know this site has the 99 Murray Park Road. There are some buffer zones in terms of, places on that piece of land you can't even, walk or get access to. So I don't know. I feel like you're not really comparing maybe per se 100% apples to apples, if you will. So.
Well, they're both former City of Winnipeg landfill sites with off-gassing that have ongoing monitoring and don't have development permitted on them. So I can't say specifically what the issues on 99 Murray Park are that might be different, but for all intents and purposes, they have the same issues, and there is no near-term or anywhere near-term prospect of either of these properties being allowed to be sold and or developed.
Okay, no, those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
And
No questions for me, thank you.
I have a question. You and both Matthew mentioned that this site is landlocked.
Yes.
How do they get the asphalt off the site?
Well, let's go back to the site, the city. I'm going to direct you to the city's brief because their picture is clearer than mine and what I've got printed out here. So we look at page number 2 of their brief. If you look at Fournier on the coming off of Panet on the west side of the property there, it terminates before this property begins. In fact, there's another property in between it that I'm assuming is city land as well, but is not leased by this particular tenant. So what we're looking at is market value, right? So if this property were to sell, you have to access it through other properties that are not owned by whoever would own this theoretical purchase of this property. The same holds true on the east side with Fournier there. I gather Fournier was intended to go through this property and turn and head north afterwards. Obviously, that hasn't been done as it's a landfill site and can't be developed. But it's not developed up to the property itself.
Except there's some gravel paths to get the trucks in and out of there,
Well,
according to this photo.
so I think we're extending the reasonability somewhat of access to this site. It's not a roadway that comes directly to the site. As Matthew and I stated, it is a landlocked parcel. So it does have an impact. I don't know what much more to say on that.
Okay, that's fine. That concludes this property, and the next property in the docket is 221 Panet Road. And Matthew, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. The file number is 22-3665. The roll number is 0605174700. The address is 221 Panet Road, and the owner is number company 3274692 Manitoba Limited. I guess I'll just quick note. I was going to mention this property and the previous property. They are also pending 2020 municipal boards by the city, so I just thought I'd mention that. But so anyways, the 2023 assessed value based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $2,269,000. The property type is Vindu or vacant industrial. It is zoned M3 heavy manufacturing, and the land area is 669,504 square feet, or roughly 15.37 acres. So this is going to be very similar to the previous property we just spoke to. So looking at page 2 of the subject map, this is actually just literally north of the subject property. Sorry, the previous property we spoke to. So going to the bottom of page 2, you can see a better outline, a view of this property. So this is the view of its slightly irregular shaped piece of land. Again, this is also another former landfill site. This site has much better access, as you can see. So they have access on Panet Road, Warman Road, and then Fournier Street on the other side. So it's definitely much better accessible than the previous parcel. But again, it's a very similar type of, former landfill site. Just going to page 3. Again, this is just another photo of the subject. Again, as I said, just north of the previous property we spoke about. Page 4. Again, M3 zoning, heavy manufacturing, and again, just a brief description of what entails in that. And page 5, it's just the current cost of value summary, land value at $2,269,000. There was a sale back in 27 for $2,625,000. I don't believe it was a. We didn't include it for analysis, so I don't have any information regarding the specifics of that sale, so I can't speak to the sale, so I won't. And it's an older sale anyway, so. So just go to page 6. These are my land sale comparables. Again, the subject property is at 669,504 square feet, or roughly 15.37 acres. It is zoned M3 heavy manufacturing. Again, as I stated, it's a contaminated site. Some of the other influences, medium traffic and bus routes. We are applying a land rate of $3.39 a square foot. Again, the reasoning for the higher land rate per square foot for this one would be, the driving factor would be the better accessibility. Again, I'm not disputing that it's still contaminated. That is definitely known and has been spoken to. But again, the higher rate would be based on the fact of the better accessibility. My comparables are actually the same comparables we spoke to in the previous property. So I'll just briefly mention them. So again, they range from 197,013 square feet to 611,747, roughly 4.5 to 14 acres. The zonings range from M1 and M2. Some of the influences, again, comparables 3 and 5 are also known contaminated sites, which I've spoken to. These land rates range from $2.25 a square foot to $6.89 a square foot, or roughly $90,000 an acre to $300,000 an acre for the Hutchings. And again, just going to page 7, as I already went through these comparables, I don't think it really needs to really go in depth anymore on them. So comparable 1, I mentioned on Mission Street or Dugal Road, comparable 2 on Ashimodier, comparable again number 3 on Inkster on Dunlop Avenue, and then comparable number 4 just off of Hyde Avenue, close to Oak Point Highway. And then lastly, comparable number 5 just on Logan Avenue. And lastly, page 11 is the classification liability location. And this continues on page 12 and 13, just the Municipal Assessment Act figures or information. So that concludes my presentation. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Trevor, any questions?
I have no questions, no.
Thank you. Richard?
I'm fine, thank you. No question.
And Doug?
No questions for me, thank you.
And I have no questions. So Trevor, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess to start with, I would point out the sale of property that is mentioned was done back in 2007. This is prior to the Golder reports rather being done and the restrictions being placed on subject property and the ongoing monitoring, etc. So drastic impact on value for the subject property. So that sale is, for all intents and purposes, not informative as to market value as of the valuation date. So subject property here is immediately adjacent to the previous property that we were covering. This is not a City of Winnipeg property. It is actually owned by the owner in this case. But we still have the exact same issues here. It is a former City of Winnipeg landfill site, and they are not able to develop on the subject property for the reasons stated. We'll get into it, but it is essentially, for all intents and purposes, the exact same situation. And I know that access has been spoken about. I don't want to make too much out of that, but does it matter if the property has better access if you can't develop it and it has the environmental impacts and ongoing monitoring that are present there? In my mind, that would not necessarily increase the value of that property, because there's no near-term prospect of developing either of these properties. So let's look at my page number 3 briefly. The background of the property reductions based on our valuations for 2020 and 2020 and 2018 as shown. The property is zoned M3 and it is 15.37 acres in size. The photographs again give you the use of the property. The vast majority of the property is actually vacant, or roughly half of the property. If you look at, so the photos are shown on page 4. Nelson River, Bison Rock uses this property as well for storage of materials and production of asphalt. You look at my page 6, you can see essentially the portion of the site that they use for that. And the eastern portion of the site being essentially prairie land. So if you look at my page number 5, that's essentially what you're looking at there. Moving forward again, site is former City of St. Boniface landfill site. It is noted in the Golder report, utilized for raw storage of asphalt production materials, as well as equipment storage, and the actual production materials on the site as well. Property location, again indicated on page 7. Former landfill lands experience methane off-gassing and are limited in nature to surface uses with no permanent structures being allowed. So again, for all intents and purposes, exactly the same as the other one, other than the actual ownership. With the same information beginning on page number 9 with regard to the environmental issues, demonstrating the former landfill use of the property. Running into page 11, the same documentation and same discussion that we went through on the previous property as shown on page number 12. So development of the site has been restricted by the city of Winnipeg and cannot be developed upon. Let's move forward into the evaluation itself. So again, we don't have any different information here. As Matthew pointed out, my information on 200 Warman, I gather, is incorrect. So please disregard that particular issue. Same comparables are shown. Again, we have the sale of St. Boniface Stockyard site, that being 17 acres. Transacting at 13 cents a square foot back in 2007 with obviously environmental impacts and stigma. Subject property is 15 acres. I would point out there are no true recent sales of environmentally impacted land that we were able to obtain on which to form a basis of market value. The property in Inkster Industrial on Hutchings, and I don't have the material present here, but in discussions with another agent that did represent that property, there was essentially no contamination on site and no remediation needed to be done. The same discussion with regard to 99 Murray Park Road, shown at the bottom of page 15. Again, as noted. So we have page number 16. Please disregard point 1. That should not be in there. Property is owned by the ownership. But we have the same exact issues. Property is restricted from being developed with permanent structures. And we have significant environmental impacts, limiting its potential value to market participants. We've used the same value of $10,000 per acre, giving us a market value of $154,000. And the addendum materials remain the same. And I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matthew, any questions?
I don't believe it's necessary. It's the same. My questions would have been the same for the previous piece of land, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Richard.
Just a clarification point, if you don't mind, Trevor. on your page A17 and 18, I don't see Panet Road, but is this the same study? And it refers to Panet Road under 1, 2, 3, or 4, the St. Boniface landfill sites?
So you're referring to A17?
Right on the top of A17, there are 4 St. Boniface landfill sites.
Yeah,
Well,
So
two St. B and 1 Belleville Road.
right. So it refers to Appendix C, number 3, St. Boniface Landfill Site 1, Appendix D, number 4, St. Boniface Landfill Site number 2. This is considered St. Boniface Landfill Site number 1.
Okay, and so the same conditions apply from
That's
this
correct.
to the previous.
That's right.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. No further questions.
Thank you. And
No questions for me, thank you.
and I have no questions. So Trevor, that concludes your presentations today.
Thanks very much.
And we'll take a 5-minute recess. We're good. We will reconvene the hearing this afternoon, and we'll go to the top of the docket, and that property is on Morey Street. Any preliminary issues with this property, either parties?
None on my part.
No. No. Okay, Matthew, you can proceed.
Oh, you want to swear me in?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
It's been a long morning.
Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Rocky Neufeld?
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Matthew, you can proceed.
Thanks, Chairman. The file number is 22-3407. The roll number is 07055050600. The address is Morey Street. There's no numbered address. And the owner is Macdon Industries Limited. 2023 assessed value based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $2,468,000. Go to page 1 of my brief. You'll see this is a Bindu or vacant industrial parcel of land. It is zoned M2 manufacturing general. And the land area is 435,036 square feet, or roughly 9.987 acres. So page 2 of my brief, you'll just see a subject map of this subject property. At the top there, I've shown a little red dot where the subject property is located. The bottom of page 2, you'll further see a satellite view. This is a little bit better view of the piece of land, again with the red dot there. So it's this square-shaped parcel of land, which we'll see in another photo. Again, this is on Murray, again, our part, which is on Morey Street and just north of Saskatchewan Avenue. So going to page 3 of my brief, you'll see a photo of the subject. Again, here's the subject property. It's a rectangular shape of a piece of land on Morey Street, and on the bottom of page 3, you'll just see a zoomed out photo just to see the parcel of land, and then again, its relation to Morey and Salto Crescent south, and then Saskatchewan Avenue north. Go to page 4 of my brief. This is zone M2 manufacturing general. Just a brief description of what entails in that zoning. Again, the total land value we're assessing is $2,468,000. The most recent sale of this property occurred on December 11th, 2018 for $3,250,000. And there are no notes on this property. Go to page 6 of my brief. You'll see the subject property again, 435,036 square feet, roughly 9.987 acres. Zoning to M2 manufacturing general. Just some land influences. And we're applying a price per square foot of $5.67 a square foot. Looking at my comparables, comparables 1 through 4, they range from 186,640 square feet to 653,069 square feet, roughly 4.2585 to 14.992 acres. You'll see the zonings, M1, M2, the split class from comparable number 2, comparable 3 and 4 are M1 and M3. You'll see the land influences on the other comparables. Sale dates range from September 6, 2016 to November 2nd, 2020. And the sale price per square foot range from $5.36 a square foot to $9.76 a square foot. If you go to page 7 on your brief, you'll see the photos of the comparables. So comparable 1, this is located on Grosvenor Dale Avenue or Haggard Avenue. So it's got access on Grosvenor, which is just south. That would be Inkster Boulevard, Cleveland Street, and then Haggard Avenue. So you'll see this is just a similar type shaped parcel of land. Again, very similar in terms of size. It's roughly 653,000. So it is slightly larger than the subject. Comparable number 2 is actually just south of the first comparable. This is again fronting Inkster Boulevard, again on Grosvenor Avenue and then Cleaverdale Street. So I won't dispute this one has better accessibility and exposure than the subject property. Again, this one sold for it was a higher like per square foot, $9.76 per square foot. Comparable A and page 8, comparable number 3. I spoke to this one previously in another hearing. This is on Oak Point Highway, so this is on Hyde Avenue. So you see this parcel, they're slightly regular shaped, mostly used for storage, adjacent to a parcel of, or adjacent to a rail line. And this is in 2016 sales sold for roughly $6.57 a square foot. And the last comparable is comparable number 4. This is located in St. Bon's Industrial Park, zoned M3. This is smaller than the subject at 186,000 square feet. This one sold in 20. And then just go to page 10, you'll just see a zoomed up photo of it. Just adjacent to the south is also a rail line. So again, this is located in St. Bon's Industrial Park. Pages 11 is just the classification allocation, just showing the assessed value and the current class code we're applying. Page 12 and 13 are just some municipal assessment act information. Page 14 through 15 is just the just some land status of title, just showing the transfer of land document and the current consideration. And then just page 16 through 20, again, are just some transfer land documents, again, just showing the sale that occurred back in 2018. That is my presentation. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Rocky, any questions?
Yes. Firstly, the sale. So the vendor was the city of Winnipeg, correct?
That is correct.
Are you aware of any special conditions or issues affecting the sale that were offered to purchase? Or they proposals?
I am not aware of that. No.
Okay. Is it customary to use sales of the city of Winnipeg's land as for support?
Well, again, anytime there's a sale, if it is a city sale, we'll still include it. So we would still acknowledge it. So
it exists, but okay, I'm just thinking of weight.
I don't. I mean, again, like I said, based on the land tile search information I put on, they do state on page 18. They do state it as fair market value. So I don't see any reason why I wouldn't put any weight on that. So
page 18.
Page 18, correct? Yeah.
Okay. But you weren't involved with the sale, I take it?
No, I was not. No.
Did you contact anyone who was involved with the sale?
I did not.
Okay, you have my phone number though. I was, by the way, I'm just punchy day. Your comparables, none of these come from Moray, do they?
They are not in the same areas, no.
And these ones on Inkster, I mean, you're considering them the same market area as Moray? Same market.
Sorry?
The same influences?
Oh, like I said, they're similar. Well, the particular comparable 2 has no water, no. Yeah, like I said, the influences of bus.
2 are M1, 1 C2, and the other's M3. You don't have a single M2.
Well, it's comparable number 2 is a combination of C2 and M1. It's a split zoning, but
right,
yes,
right.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some difference in terms of the zoning. I won't dispute that.
All right. And on your picture, I just want to see looking for your neighborhood picture. I'm looking on page 3, and the rear of the property has a right of way, and now that's for the railway, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
And are you familiar with the current debate going on for clearances from railways?
Yes, I remember you had mentioned it in the previous hearing, so I'm familiar with it. Yes.
Okay, so is it fair to say that there will be a portion of the property on the west side which may have a questionable ability to develop?
Yes, if that goes through that, yes, there would be some potential
Okay.
loss, if you will, in usability.
And I've had discussions with some assessors in your office, Mr. Lobenstein, actually, on the property immediately to the south. Now, there was a discussion that the properties should be merged. Do you know anything about that? That process? Is that going to happen?
I'll be honest, unfortunately, I don't know the specific status. I didn't really look into that. I'm not aware of that. I definitely going forward, I'll take a look into it, but no, I'm not aware of the specifics.
Oh, okay. No, I hate it's a process that I got no control over. So you don't know, that's fine. Thanks. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Richard, any questions?
I have none, thank you.
And
None for me, thank you.
and I have none. So Rocky, you can proceed with your presentation.
Great, thanks. I'm going to refer to the assessor's map because he's got a better detail than I had. And that's page 3, the bottom picture. So you can see where the subject property is located. Macdon owned the larger building to the north, and they were the purchaser of this land. And there's 3 individual owners on the south side of the property. The city put this up for sale. Myself and Jim Kulik in our office represented Macdon on negotiations with the city to purchase. So I was directly involved. We came nowhere near to the price that ended up being concluded. What happened is that the 3 property owners to the south showed interest, and we're talking about banding together to get it. Now, with these city sales, they always say the same thing on it. We won't necessarily sell to the highest bidder. And the point is that Macdon is the largest single property user in the neighborhood and one of Winnipeg's largest employers. And I think that there's great support for them to purchase it because they want to expand 2555 Saskatchewan to the north. But there was a bit of panic on it because they had their expansion plans already set, and they just determined they wanted to get the property regardless. So I mean, I was right there, and we had the meeting, and I expressed my opinions on it as far as market, and it went much higher than I ever would have put on it. But it was an acquisition for a different reason. This is absolutely not a market value sale because of the undue influences on it. And as I said, they had hoped to merge, and the issue with the rail is interesting in that this is a spur, by the way. This isn't the main line, but the federal, or I'm sorry, railways are controlled by federal legislation, and so federally, the railways are at this point negotiating and asking for 300-meter control zones from their center lines. This is all a real reaction to the rail disasters we've had, such as Lake Majantic. And they're simply saying, if you're going to hold us liable, we understand, but you can't develop up to the rail line anymore. And the municipalities, Canadian municipalities, have adopted a 200-foot setback rule that is not in Winnipeg's bylaw, but when a development request comes through, it is taken into consideration, and all one has to do is look at the map of the general area to see the new construction. For example, in the picture on the assessor's page 3, you can see what's a new development, what's an old development, and just measure that the 200 feet is being enforced. So that was our concern on that point, is that it's a questionable development. The values we had looked at were fairly difficult because to find sales in this particular area, you'll note that the ones that we ended up selecting all started with 7. So that's an indication of a roll number in West Winnipeg. And I don't have the exact addresses. I can look these up. You can see a lot of them were C4 zoned. And then there's an A zone and an M2 zone. the actual sales are I said sporadic, but we're trying to catch the neighborhood flavor. And Morey is again, land is controlled by MacDon and Boeing, and there's not a lot of action other than with those two are involved. So these other sales, I admit that some of these are likely a far away, and then you looked at the zoning on these, they all differ. The one that really stands out is 2185 Logan, and that is backed onto a rail and sold at $228 a square foot. So we had looked at that's 99,000 an acre, but perhaps some upward averaging for the rest of these. The one on Camp Manitou, even though it was agricultural zone, this was already designated for development on TransCanada. Worth of interest, and I believe, I'm trying to remember where the rest of these are. Okay, I don't have it in front of me. So averaging them all, we came to about 180,000 an acre on the 10 acres, and bearing in mind that there's a 2 acres question mark out there. We think 1.8 million would be where it should land. And I can tell you for the record that I recommended not to pay more than $2 million for this piece of land. I did not do an appraisal on it, so therefore, this is only anecdotal information. But that was my advice at the time. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you very much.
Richard
No questions.
and Doug.
No questions for me, thank you.
And I have no questions, so that concludes this property. The next one on the docket is 2670 Saskatchewan Avenue. Any preliminary issues on this one?
None.
No, they're none of mine. So,
Okay, Matthew, you can proceed.
it's German. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Okay, so the file number is 2238899. The roll number is 075691100500. The address is 2670 Saskatchewan Avenue, and the owner is Her Majesty the Queen in the right of Canada Winnipeg Airports Authority Incorporated. The 2023 assessed value based on reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $2,527,000. Go to page 1 of my brief, you'll see the property type. It's a vacant industrial land in the zone M2 manufacturing general, and the land area is 612,660 square feet, or roughly 14 acres. We go to page 2 of my brief, you'll just see a subject map. So again, this is located on Saskatchewan Avenue, again, just further north of the subject of the previous property. Going to page 3 of my brief, so you'll see the picture on the right. This is the subject property, so you'll see where it is on Saskatchewan Avenue. So it's it starts as a it's a rectangle, then it obviously has a irregular shape at the top. So obviously the usability would be less at the top of the land there. Going to the right side picture, again, it's just a satellite view just to show the land itself. Go to page 4 of my brief, you'll just see it's zoned M2 manufacturing general, and just a brief description of what that can be built on this land. We'll go to page 5 of my brief, you'll see the valuation summary. So again, the land value is $2,525,000. We do have a $2,000 of cost value just based on a fence that's around the property as a detached structure. So you can just see the $2,000 we're assessing for the fence. So that gives the total assessed value of $2,527,000. And the bottom of page 5, there are no recent sales in this property. Again, so my comparables, the subject property information running in some of my land sale comparables. Subject again is 660 square feet, or roughly 14 acres. This zone M2 manufacturing general. So the land influences are rail line as well as the shape. And we are applying a sale price per square foot of $4.12 a square foot, which would entail the fact of the rail line and then the shape of the parcel. So look at my land sale comparables. They range from 229,744 square feet to 653,069 square feet, roughly 5.2 to 14.9 acres. The zoning ranges from M1 to M2. So you'll see some land influences in the comparables. The sales range from September 6, 2016 to March 27, 2019. And then the sale price per square foot range from $4.87 a square foot to $9.07 a square foot. And we are again applying a model land rate of $4.12 a square foot. Go to page 7. I've already spoken to this comparable previously. This is an Inkster Boulevard, Grosvenor-Dale Avenue, Haggard Avenue. So it's got better access and it is a better shape. I won't dispute that. So I won't dispute this is superior. Comparable 2. I've spoken to this in a previous hearing, but this is located on Lagimoni Boulevard. This is a slightly irregular shaped parcel, again, just off of Lagimoni Boulevard. Comparable number 3, well, actually, this is the previous property we're speaking to. Obviously, I know Mr. Neufeld, contests the sale price, but again, this is the sale we have in place, so that's, again, I'm using this as comparable. I won't dispute, I believe this would be superior to the subject in terms of its overall shape. And comparable number 4, I spoke to this one previously on 65 Hyde Avenue. Again, slightly regular shaped, adjacent to a rail line, so there's some similarities in those senses. Again, this is located off Oak Point Highway. It's sold for $6.52 a square foot, 2016 sale. Page 10 is just some classification liability allocation information. And page 11 and 12 are just municipal assessment factors of information. That concludes my presentation. I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Rocky, any questions?
Yeah, did you get a mailer from Her Majesty or His Majesty at this point on the rental rate on the land?
I do not. I did look. I don't think I have anything. Let me just double check. I can verify. I don't currently have anything at the moment, but I can double check. So.
No, I had one at one point, and I know I emailed it to an assessor. I don't know where it ended up.
Just gonna type in the address to see if I can have anything here, just in case. Because usually we put it in our system when we get it. So. Again, unfortunately, I don't have anything. It might be somewhere else. Unfortunately, it could be just. Unfortunately, I just don't personally have it at the moment. So.
Okay. I'm just wondering because because it's leased land that there should some investigation should probably have been undertaken as to the how much rent it's generating. But in this case, I'm looking for it myself.
Trying to see if I have anything here.
Okay.
So you have something maybe, yeah.
Well, no, I found the old sale is all I found. I don't have the rental rate. Do you have the older sale?
I apologize.
The 2010 sale?
Let's see here. Let me just quickly check here. You know what? Actually, I don't have that information in there either. Like I usually have a record of the sales. Let me take a look again.
Okay.
You know what? I think there was a replot done on this property at one point. So
you're right.
They're probably
right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why I'm having issues finding.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we do that, we'll have to search the old roll number. I could probably still find it.
I can give you the old roll number. I think I've got it here. Oh no, I don't. I got a legal title. 2610351.
I'm sure I could find that.
Yeah, okay. We don't want to waste time on it. Then. That's fine. But we're both acknowledging that it's leased and we can't. There was an older sale. That's fine. In terms of the usable area, did you you've treated this as sorry, I'm just the model has treated this as $412 a square foot for the entire acreage then, correct?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we'd be applying for the whole property. Yes.
And any of your comparables, I wasn't paying great attention. I'm just looking at them now. None of them have this degree of irregularity, do they?
No, I wouldn't dispute that. No.
And because that land in the north is, I mean, I think most people are agreed that it's basically unusable. But I don't know if you'd agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I don't disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's very, the uses would be next to, very limited to anything. I don't dispute that. So
Are you showing that this is serviced?
just give me 1 second. I can check.
I heard the other day on the neighboring property that you got your.
I know I think there's a sewer line running in front of it. I think. I don't see. Oh, well, the parcel next door to it does have like services. I don't.
That's what.
So
That's
I guess
what the assessor said a couple of weeks ago, and I was out at that site, and they got a septic tank. So I was.
Oh, because I can. Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, but whether
I mean on our file. Yeah.
Okay, but have
Okay,
they paid for access to services?
That I don't know, unfortunately. So
Yeah, so that's going to make a difference if they haven't paid their development fees, correct?
yes, there would be some. Yeah, there would be some definitely for sure. I won't disagree.
Okay.
Development costs are going to be.
And the same questions, the rail line, I imagine, general discussion, that's fine. Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. Richard, any questions?
Yes. Matthew, you admitted under questioning by Mr. Neufeld that the ability to use a portion of that property is highly unlikely. Is that true?
Yeah, like I said, there would be some very, the uses of it would be very limited. Like I said, as you can see, it's a very irregular shape, so you would be very, it'd be hard to really use it for anything specific.
Yeah.
I don't dispute. So
Now, if I understand you correctly, the model generated the $4.12.
correct.
But you allowed the entire amount of the space, the 612,000 square feet to go into the model.
Yeah, correct. One thing I'd just like to note is, though, if you look under the subject, under land influences, we have like a rail line and we have one called shape. So we are acknowledging it is a regular shape. So that would be an influence that does affect the land rate. So, anytime we have an influence, whether it be contaminated land, so that's kind of why we've acknowledged it. It's a regular shape. So,
but if I understand you from previous evidence, I've asked you these questions in the past, you have the ability to adjust what the model has produced, don't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, there's nothing saying we can't make changes on anything per se. Yes, exactly. It's not like it's a set in stone value. Yeah, so
looking at this photograph on page 2, and you're indicating that it's likely unusable to a larger degree, why wouldn't you make that adjustment, Matthew?
like, do you mean like getting like just removing the land altogether, or like that?
No, altering the square footage that's used.
Well, I mean, we still have to acknowledge the land is there, though, so we're just not going to say it's not there. I mean, I understand it does have limited use, but we still have to account for the land. We can't just say it doesn't exist or get rid of it. So,
well, I'm not saying get rid of it, but say you're going to reduce the square footage in order to assess taxability or value.
well, like I said, I think as I stated, like the fact of the influence, we're influencing it is a regular shape, so that does affect the land rate. So. If we reduce the area, typically the rate could potentially go higher because economies of scale, a smaller area is going to have a higher rate. So yeah, I can't speak to the specifics, but
so what you're suggesting then, if I can read into what you're saying, is this likely would have been a higher rate, higher than 412.
I can't say for certain, but yeah, like I mean, typically, if we lower the area, I don't know the specific square footage we would remove if we ever did, but you're right, there's a potential that it could, would be higher potentially based on our model. So,
okay, well, thank you for your patience. It is a very unusually shaped piece of land, and
I don't disagree.
Okay. No further questions.
Thank you, Doug.
No questions for me, thank you.
And I have no questions. So Rocky, you can proceed with your presentation.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I have to point out to you a very coincidental, I'm not even going to call it an error. It's a coincidence that the numbers are very close. In the last hearing, it was stated that 7.79 acres, only 7.79 is usable out of the 10 acres. It's the same was repeated here. Now that's the typo. The odd thing about it is the last one has 1,000-foot depth, and I told you it's 200 feet. That's impacted by a development potential problem, which is 8 acres. So oddly enough, that we said the same thing by mistake, but it's just a coincidence. In this particular case, we measured this at one point on page 2, and this is the area that MacDon is using. And is considered usable. Now, they have not paved, they've graded part of it and put down some granular to park their tractors on. And so the land, not all the land is usable in terms of the rearage portion. Again, it's impacted by setbacks. And you can see from the pictures that the setback that's in place right now is only measured at about less than 100 feet, because these were historical, I wouldn't say non-conforming, because it's still not a law, but it is a restriction that parties are left with. The pad that we've drawn on page 2 represents 200 feet clearance from the center line of the railway. And that gives you an idea of how much of the land isn't developable on the pointy portion. That's a main line that runs to the left of the property, and the spur line we talked about before is on the south of the property. The spur line curves right in front of them and doesn't impact their access, but it's still in place. You can see that the paved portion up front, or sorry, the crushed rock portion up front maintains that 200-foot separation from the spur line. So it's an indication that you've got to honor the 200 feet, and that makes the rearage of the land just unusable. It's saying that you have to put a value on because it exists. You've got to have a use for it. I don't know. Could you put a rifle range there? Maybe. Neighbors might object, but it's only useful if you're a person who owns the land next door. That person is the Crown. The history of this property is very strange. It was owned by a private individual up to 2010, and MacDon wanted 2555 Saskatchewan, which is the property that I spoke of earlier, and on the picture, the pictures here, you can't, it doesn't, let me just see if it shows up. No, you don't see it. I have to get to the right screen here, but it is immediately south. Now, 2555 Saskatchewan was owned by the Airport Authority, or the Queen Airport Authorities, a lease on it, and MacDon purchased this weird shaped piece of land because the Crown wanted the land because it was adjacent to the aerodrome lands, and then they enacted a swap. So they purchased this weird shaped lot and traded it for $1 to the Crown for 2555 Saskatchewan on the other side of Saskatchewan. Then they entered into a leaseback arrangement, and I was desperately looking for the lease. I think it's a nominal amount, and it's very, very, very small. I wish I could have given it to you because it would have given us some perspective on it. So it ends up that we have, although there's 14.1 acres in the title, it's about 7-8 acres that would be considered usable for tractor parking. Now, when this was done up, the concept was use the same value as across the street at 181,000, but only use it on the real usable. because the last one was a threat of unusability. This one is certain unusability, and that's why we went right to that acreage size. And an alternate way of looking at it is to use the entire acreage and look at some of the very negative pieces of land, such as 2185 Logan, which is kind of a similar concept. It's kind of it's not all landlocked, but it backs onto a rail line, and the road in front of it is poorly developed, and that's 99,000 an acre. And if you were to do that on the entire 14 acres, it's about 1.395 million. So the number is very, very similar. Essentially, I think that either one is good. And just for the record, I was looking over some previous sales, and we would have done much better in 2020 because there were a whole bunch of these irregular lots sold at 40 cents an acre. We didn't give them to you as evidence, so I can't dig them up again. But I think that this is fair to look at like a very it has utility for MacDon because they're never going to put a building up there, so they don't have to pay the money to bring in sewer and water or pay the development fees. It adds to their business because they need tractor parking, which is a legal use on this land, and it works for them. It wouldn't work for anybody else who wants to put a building up, because then you'll have to pay the development fees. So I think that this is a fair number, either 14 acres at 99,000 or the 7.79 at the 181,000. Kind of both convoluted methods, but I think it's fair. I don't know what more I've got here. I wish I could have found that lease. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Richard, any questions? Oh, no, Matthew, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just curious because like I'm not disputing the the shape of the land and the unusability of certain parts of it. So I was just wondering how you derived that 7.79 acres roughly. I guess like where did you kind of derive it from?
There's a little drawing on page 2.
Oh, I see what you're saying there. Okay, so then
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's very approximate. So we went up to is and it's probably shouldn't have gone as far south as it did to honor the 200 feet, but then perhaps in the north it could have angled up a bit there. So all fair, it's going to be about 8 acres.
Okay, that's the only question I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard.
Yes. Mr. Newholt, could you refer to page 3 of the city's evidence, the photograph? It's got the property in yellow, hey?
Yeah, it's like the yellow outline. He's got it in its whole in entirety.
So I go back to your document, and you've drawn the line. It appears at the first bend in the property line. Is that correct? Just beyond the
yeah. And I wouldn't. By the way, this was drawn a few years back. I probably would have drawn it a bit differently right now because the property line in the assessor's page 3, I measured this. It's about 100 feet from the center line, and so the 200 feet would hit the corner of the gravelled area, and that's really where it should be drawn. And then it can angle upwards a bit, maybe a bit of a triangle going north, and so the number I would could probably actually I've got Google Earth in front of me right now. I don't do these reports myself much anymore, but I would go. I'm drawing a bit of an irregular shape. Yeah, I'm getting 7.3 acres in that neighborhood, very rough, and I'm tightening up on the towards the gravelled area for the rails, and then extending upwards further north because some of that land would be usable. So this is just all guesswork here.
Let me frame my question a little bit.
Yeah.
First, okay, Because I look at that offset from the railway along that property line,
Yeah,
and it seems to be the same as what's on the other side of the railway. And
right. Yeah,
I
and these,
assume that's illegal.
well, no, these are, and I'll just measure that right now to the center line. 131 feet to the center line on the other side. And if I take the measurement from the corner of the gravel to the center line, it's refusing to cooperate. Here we go. It's 204 feet. So that would be
Would that take you up to that second bend in your property line?
yeah, up to that bend, it remains at about 130 feet.
Okay.
And I'm saying that it should be wider at 200 feet.
Okay.
And then, yeah, but at the same time, that the drawing we presented, it's squared off the land, and so it should turn into parallelogram. So the top left corner comes down, top right corner goes up, and it's going to end up being around 8 acres roughly of land that you can work with.
To my eye, that looks like it might be closer to 10 acres. If you continue up.
I see what you're saying. If you continue on, but what you're going to end up getting then is a sliver of land let me just see how deep that sliver is after that bend way up there.
Well, you don't have to go beyond. It's everything below that to the gravel portion.
Let me see what you're saying. Everything below that. Let me just get back to 2 here.
That second bend, it's kind of like, is it 2 to 3 acres?
Yeah.
And more.
Well,
because that would change your number, wouldn't it?
Where it would slightly, yes. Now where let's see if I can pinpoint this. That clump of the woods.
Yes.
And about the center of the woods there, where it's a straight north-south line, distance to the center line to the edge of the property is 272 feet. So there's a little bit of space, maybe 70 feet there at that point. So I mean, you could probably dead storage back there, some value, no problem. I could see that. And then I'll give you another measurement. It's so great having the Google Earth. They could just play all day long with measuring stuff. If I went all the way north, I'm getting 11 acres. About okay, let me cut that out. 10.5 acres of cone-shaped property, that starts out square at the bottom and then curves inward to the end, and I've cut off any useful land at the end of the bush where it narrows even more. So I mean, I wouldn't disagree that there might be another user who could find 10 acres of land usable with that. This is all surveyor's work, not mine.
So that could take your number up to as high as 457,000 square feet, if we agreed to that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if we looked at that on the basis of the value, sure, it could end up being higher. That ends up being 1.8 million, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I can't give you certainties on this one. This is just all of us just spitballing about what it's worth, and you have usually an appraisal. I'm gonna get real hard line, give you a hard answer, and I think is right. I don't know.
I appreciate it. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Deb.
Nothing for me, thank you.
And I have no questions. So that concludes this property. And we're down to the last one. Which is roll number 14-092-890-100. And Rocky, you appealed assessed value, liability and classification, is that correct?
Yeah. I just want to I did. Now I'm just wanted to check something. I sent in something to the board. I thought there was discussion to change this voluntarily by the city to a different class.
Mr. Neufeld, this was the Watt rebuttal email that you labeled?
That's correct. I just wanted to see that for a second here. No, they didn't change class on it. Okay. Okay. Sure. Let's just proceed. I don't have much to offer in the way of class then.
So do you want to proceed on class and liability?
Yeah, let me open the folder up here and I just want to look at it. What was the class on there?
I think it's 60. Let me just double check. Let me just double check. I don't want to lead you astray. Yes, we have it as a 60 other. Yeah, so.
Right. Yeah. Sure. I'll tell you why. And obviously, I should have been prepared. I should have had Mr. Mercury in here. I forgot about this. I entirely forgot about this. But we can proceed. So now I have to discuss why I want class change, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Harling, you got the email for the applicant's rebuttal?
I did. Yes, I do have it. Yes, I have it.
Perfect. And the board, you'll have it in there as well as it will be in the SharePoint under the folder labeled rebuttal. If the applicant's speaking to that.
I know you guys have been here a long time. Let me just, I got to open up one more window here and I remember
I refresh. Unless I put it in the wrong one. Back and go forward. You get it in the wrong one.
okay.
Just hold on, Rocky. We haven't got it yet.
Apparently, I must have put it in the wrong spot. So
I have,
one moment. Mr. Whitbread, did you have it?
yeah, it's right at the top of the agenda, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, it should be in the agenda under folder labeled rebuttal.
Yeah.
I just put it in the wrong spot for the applicants in person, or the panel members in person.
At the very top, it's a yellow folder called rebuttal.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, yes. So you, Rocky, you can proceed on the classification liability.
All right. So the land is rented from the city of Winnipeg, and it's a very small, irregular piece of land. The person who is renting it owns the apartment block that is adjacent to it and uses it as his accessory additional parking, and also helps him meet his density requirements under city planning. So it's essentially residential, and the address of that site is I'm gonna hit it one of these days. It's the apartment blocks on Watt.
I think there's one here at 410 to Salisbury Avenue. Is that the one? No, maybe not. No.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just
Oh, that's not Messenger. Never mind. I'm wrong.
Yeah, I've known the guy for years, David Vandervis, anyway. So he's renting the land for his block. Now, the rental agreement, says nothing about, usage restrictions. It just says that it's, restricted to cold storage only. In other words, the city doesn't want anyone to build on it. And, so that's what he's using it for, is residential. It doesn't, I think it's the property. Okay, I'm not prepared. So it is in use for parking for the block, and I don't have the block address, and that's my request. And I think this is also a matter that we can also discuss outside of the board. So it's perhaps we could notify the assessor and ask for the classification change outside of the board. I'm gonna suggest that, because I don't have to prove it's accessory parking, I need to show you where it is, and we don't have that. So can we just carry on to value, and under that basis, I don't expect you to change anything.
So you just want us to confirm liability and classification?
Correct.
Matthew, have you got a problem with that?
No, that's fine. No, we can.
Okay, then you can proceed with your presentation, Matthew.
Thanks, Chairman. The file number is 22-3897. The roll number is 1409-289-0100. The owner is the city of Winnipeg, and it's a city lease for Craching Investments Limited. The 2023 assessed value based on the reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $192,000. The property type again is a zoned, or is a vacant industrial parcel. It's currently zoned for M2 manufacturing general, and the land area is 17,221 square feet. Let's just go to page 2 of my brief. You'll see the subject map. So this is just located off of Archibald Street, I should apologize. And you can kind of see the bottom of page 2, just a satellite view, just to see what this piece of land is. Now, if we go to page 3 of my brief, you'll see it highlighted in red. So this is obviously a very irregularly shaped parcel of land, and it's in a, it's right behind this building here on Watt Street, 19 Watt, 20 Watt. I'll be honest, I didn't do a lot of research on this particular one. I just don't know this. Mr. Newville, I know, has a bit more information on certain things that I'm not aware of. But I'm not disputing this is a very regular shape, and it's an odd location. And as Mr. Newville stated, it's cold storage, so I know the city doesn't want anyone to really build on it. So page 4 of my brief, it's just the current zoning, and just showed the little dotted line of the parcel again, M2 manufacturing general. Page 5 of review, just cost valuation summary and there are no recent sales information. So the subject property, again, it's located on, it doesn't actually have an address. As you can see, it's right behind the building here on behind 19 Watt Street. So the land area is roughly 17,221 square feet. It's currently zone M2. We are applying a land sale rate of, or a price per square foot, I apologize, of $11.15 a square foot. I'm not gonna lie, I had very difficult finding comparables. So these comparables are similar in size to the subject, but I won't dispute they were more superior. So I'll just briefly talk about them. They range in size from 14,323 square feet to 24,863. They range from M1 to M3 zoning. There's some land influences. The sale prices range from 2017 of July 18, 2017 to January 4th, 2019, and sale price per square foot range from $9.67 a square foot to $14.88 a square foot. Now just go to page 7. These are my comparables. As I stated, I won't dispute that these are definitely superior. As I stated, it's very difficult to find any comparables of that type of land. So comparable 1, it's close to Archibald, but again, it's better piece of land. Essentially, it's better access, obviously, and usability. On page 2, this is on Jarvis Avenue and Power Street, so similar situation. And then page 8, this is on Hyde Avenue. If anything, this would be the most similar if I would have to say anything, obviously, but again, not the same still. And then at the bottom here is page 8 is this is on Aaron Avenue and Wolver Avenue in the central area of the city. Page 9 is just some classification liability currently assessed to get 192, 17,000 square feet, 60 class code. Page 10 is just a municipal assessment act information, which continues on page 11 and 12. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Rocky, any questions?
Yes. Did you have a chance to review the case management agreement on the property?
I'll be honest, I didn't really go into too much depth with it. I just didn't get a chance, but I was aware, I am aware of it, obviously. So, and I know the evidence you've submitted. So I am aware of the, what happened in that case management.
Right, and it was the same issue. I mean, we're a lot of talking about we don't have comps and everything else, and they resolved it at 54,000. And so I'm wondering, did you have access to that before this? Wait, this was done in May, so this was before the roll was prepared, right?
Yes, that is correct. Like I said, I just, we didn't get I guess I wasn't sure who was dealing with it specifically. So obviously we didn't get a chance to make any changes before then, and I guess the appeal went in ahead of time. So obviously this is something we're gonna have to look at going forward, though. But
yeah, no, I was just trying to avoid going through all this again on this regular shaped piece of land. And
yeah, no,
I thought you had a recommendation for me today. Honestly, we just fix this up, go away.
I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about it. What I feel. So I'll be honest, I apologize. So
yeah, well, there's a lot of that going around. Me too. Okay. Then I have no other questions.
No questions, Richard?
Yes. Matthew, would you suggest that any of your comparables are landlocked?
no, as I stated, my comparables I would argue are definitely superior to this. So I don't think any of them are superior.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And none of them are unusable as this appears.
correct. Yeah, that is correct.
And yet you didn't adjust the dollars per square foot on this.
No, as I stated, this is, I guess, Mr. Neufeld stated, obviously we just something we could have avoided ahead of time had we, had more time to look at it. I'll be honest, when I was creating it, I completely just forgot about and didn't get a chance to really make any changes just due to time constraints and being busy. So yeah, I will acknowledge that though. So,
Mr. Chair, may I address a question to Mr. Neufeld?
Certainly.
Did you come up with a value for this property, Rocky?
No, I didn't. This settlement came just as the roll was coming out, and Eric, my son, was handling this, and he said that the assessor he was dealing with, that they were going to be able to work on the 22 as well, or 23 as well at the same time. And I guess that never happened. Everyone got busy. We're going to follow up on it. In rebuttal, you'll see that the agreement was $54,000, and yes, that was just a number plucked out of the air that everyone could live with. But I do have a concept of value for it when I get to present.
Well, I don't think it was plucked out of the air. Didn't you indicate in evidence somewhere that was a 2020?
Well, there is some evidence. The actual rental rate, $26.70 per year, which would, whatever way you cap it. I think that was what the agreement ended up being, is $26.70 rental rate capped at 5%.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Doug.
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions, so Rocky, you're up.
Okay, I think I said it all, so we'll be real brief. Page 1, we only put $1 on it because we were waiting for this to be resolved without hearing. And 2670 is the rent, and it's from the city of Winnipeg. No one is disputing that. And today, as ill prepared as we are, we would say that if you're going to come up with a value for an irregular lot. There are no sales. We had two parties who agreed to a rent. And the cap rates for parking lots and vacant land been in the 5% area. We can live with that. That comes to a value of 53,400. And the case management, which you've got as rebuttal, was based on that exact calculation, rounded to 54,000. That would be my request. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
I have none, thanks.
And Doug.
None for me, thank you.
Oh, and I did have that final figured out where his apartment block is. It's on Herbert.
Oh, perfect.
So Rocky,
I don't
deal
think-
with. You want to
Yeah, I don't
deal with your rebuttal?
That rebuttal was just the case management that I referred to, which was the May agreement on it. And this is not privileged because this is the final resolutions. We're allowed to make this public. It wasn't signed off by the city until June 10th, after the roll was already put out. I think it was the fairest possible thing we could do at the time.
Okay. Nothing else?
No.
Okay, we've heard all of the items scheduled today, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a nice holiday, everybody.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good Christmas and Happy New Year.
You too,
Same
everyone.
to you. Bye.
Take care.
Good one all.